but is that truly discussed quite a bit, or is that just we could always move it to the spring?
I think, again, spring's last resort.
Okay.
And so that's just my personal opinion. And, if it's last resort, right, then logically you would then,
Time to fire up the grill.
Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
Brewer, the other look downfield, and another big run. Sliding down inside the 5. Baylor threatens again.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Love second and 10. Deep shot. Caught. Touchdown. Utah State.
Have you downloaded the SicEm365 Radio app? Do it today on the App Store and Google Play.
2 out, nobody on as he takes over in the bottom of the 7th. 2-run game again. And here is Gallo, and there it goes. Home run, Joey Gallo.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Altuve has just sent the Astros to the World Series.
Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
You can hear us on SicEm365 Radio online on the website, SicEm365.com, and you do not have to be a part of the premium section. That's a great section to be a part of, and that is a premium subscriber monthly. But you don't have to be a subscriber to listen to us online there, or YouTube, or Facebook, or Periscope, and, of course, the app brought to you by Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in the App Store under SicEm365. Good afternoon, David Smoke and Craig Smoke and Paul Catalina. And today, a kind of a potpourri of guests, including Utah State football coach Gary Anderson, who Dave Aranda worked with at Utah State and also at Wisconsin. He'll join us today at 3:30. Herbert Frazier is a coach on the Dekaney's football team down in the Houston area, Spring Dekaney. He made a comment last night on Twitter about Kyron Jones, about what he thinks of him. He saw him at a workout. He's going to join us and drop in for a little bit at 4. Jason Hammond, Copper's Cove head coach, at 4:45. We have a bunch of news today on the UIL and workouts resuming. John Machota of The Athletic at 5 and Ross Dellinger of SI.com today at 5:20. So, to me, the biggest story of the day, and there's a lot of them, but the UIL saying to schools and football and athletics that you can go back to working out on Monday, July 13th, and 2 or 3 keys to this, and Craig kind of typed them up. Students can actually go in the locker room. Yes, there are guidelines for that. One-on-one drills, offense against defense, are going to be allowed to happen. And then face mask required if you're not actively, and some schools still have student athletes wearing the face mask in drills. You know what? Who knows if we'll get to July 13th, and that was something I mentioned yesterday, but this is positive news, at least for now.
Yeah.
After they got kind of – a lot of people, they weren't told to shut down. A lot of schools did what we see them do. 1 does, then 5 do, then 50 do, then 400 do.
Well, I mean, I think it's just smart to just watch the wave and react to it accordingly. I think that's what, for the most part, we've seen for the whole time, and I hope that's what we'll continue to do, is that because eventually we're just going to have to learn to deal with this. We're going to have to find ways to deal with it that's not a complete shutdown. So there's a middle ground between complete shutdown and back at it full speed.
Well, I'll take it as positive news. I think the shutting down and maybe even a little bit of follow the leader that took place, my mentality the entire time was, why sacrifice August and September for June and July?
Yep.
And so when they started bringing all of these kids back, I understand the conditioning aspect of it, and I understand that they've been at home for a long time and all those types of things, but we immediately saw, positive here, positive there, positive here, positive there, and it is something that, eventually we are going to just have to kind of deal with, and it's not something that's going to go away anytime soon. So, I understand everybody's concern for, we opened up too early, or we should go back under quarantine, or any of the people out there that have those types of thoughts. I totally understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, we can't do that for forever. And so, it's anybody's guess at this point of where we're going to be in a few months, but I think everybody right now is just trying to do the best that they can to make life as normal as possible, and, just as Mac Rhodes told us yesterday, just deal with it day by day. So I think that's great news. They're going to, set up to be returning on time and getting back to some normalcy, but I definitely think it was the right call to just go ahead and not worry about June and July.
Now, one thing that they did say today as well, and I got like 7 pages it printed out for me on this executive order from the UIL, there was a period of no activity scheduled for July 20th and 21st, which is a Monday, Tuesday, which is the same day the Big 12 will have their virtual Big 12 media days. That now has been rescinded. So schools will now allow the facilities to be open to student athletes even on those 2 days that was going to be kind of like almost a dead period because of the lost time in the last week or two. But this is the part. Students may access the locker rooms, engage in drills that involve one or more students on offense against one or more students on defense. That's kind of like position drills. And who knows what might lead to even a little bit of 7-on-7 type stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe more than that.
Yeah, and we'll see. I think that the full contact 11-on-11 is going to be pushed back pretty much as far as it probably can be.
Yeah, and there's all sorts of different possible options out there. But as I mentioned yesterday, let's take what today is, knowing that by tonight or tomorrow or Monday, it could change. I don't know who has the largest endowment in the college, in the university business. Is Harvard? Is it Texas? Is it Stanford? Stanford is known. They've won the Sears Directors Cup or whatever they call it, Learfield. I don't know what it's called anymore, but they've won it like for every year that it's been in existence.
Okay, the top 5: Harvard at $36 billion, Yale at $25 billion, University of Texas at $24 to $25 billion, Stanford is $22 billion, and Princeton is $21.
All right, so those are 3 Ivy Leagues, Big 12, and also the Pac-12. They have eliminated 11 varsity sports because of the coronavirus-related financial constraints. These are sports that a lot of schools don't even have, or at least have very few of them, especially around the Big 12. Men's and women's fencing, field hockey, lightweight rowing, men's rowing, co-ed and women's sailing, squash, synchronized swimming, men's volleyball, and wrestling. Most of the schools in the Big 12, there's a few of the schools, of course, the Oklahomas and Iowa State, they're involved in wrestling. They have the 4th largest endowment, and they're dropping 11 sports. That says something. Either they're being smart or they're using this as a reason to drop. But they don't like doing this.
No, and they said that the sports will play this year.
There's $28 billion their endowment now.
If they can play.
Okay.
They'll play this year.
That's right.
But then it'll still be after this year. So,
but this says after the upcoming school year, 2021, that they're going to eliminate these sports. What if there's no – go ahead.
An endowment's not an ATM. Like, I understand they've got a lot of money, but it's spoken for. So, for example, somebody endows money that is directly supposed to go to the offensive coordinator. And so, yes, they have a lot of money, and I'm sure they could find ways to probably pick up some of these sports, but I think there's a lot of people out there that think that just because you have a large endowment, that's like some type of ATM machine, and it's not exactly how it works. And another thing that's interesting about that is, saw somebody on the premium boards mention that even with them eliminating 11 sports, I still believe they have several more than Baylor does. So that's just the kind of scope of their athletic department and why they're always at the top of the what used to be called the Sears Cup. I'm not going to call it what it is now because I just always have known it as a Sears Cup. So, that's very interesting, though, still. I mean, even with the endowment not being exactly what some people think it is, that is certainly, something that raises a little bit of a red flag of like, oh, wait a second here. And I do have some breaking news. The Ivy League has just announced they're canceling fall sports.
That was it's breaking news, and I think it's just because of how that was leading up to it that they called kind of like by Wednesday we'll make this decision because I'm sure they met.
John Rothstein said Ivy League programs have been informed that fall sports have been canceled. The conference will not entertain any sports being played until after January 1st. Winter sports will have an update in mid-July on their respective practice schedules.
Do you think, and I think no, even though they're the ones that canceled their tournament and everyone eventually followed suit, does this impact in any way the Power 5 conferences?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so at all. I've been maintaining that point of view the entire time since, I guess, a week ago when people started to allude to, well, the Ivy League's going to have an announcement. I'm like, okay, who cares? Because it's not going to affect the Big 12 or the Pac-12 or the SEC. But it's something that I'm sure those leagues are looking at and going, those are pretty smart people over there.
Yeah. I do think, though, that like in scope of size to their athletic program compared to what the Power 5 are,
right.
It would be like a local burger restaurant, like the Burger Hole saying, look, we've got to close until the fall. And then saying, well, McDonald's, are going to follow suit? Like, no,
that's a great analogy.
That's
you couldn't have picked a better.
That's what it is. I mean, so
Harvard and Yale. How long have they been playing football?
Longer than most everybody.
Since there was football.
Harvard and Yale met for the first time in November of 1875, and they've met 136 times since then.
That was back when touchdowns were only worth a point.
I wonder if that series was interrupted any times.
I'm sure for
because
World War
of
II.
World War II and a little bit of that. So, and I that kind of is something I would think that this was not a surprise whatsoever. There'll be some that will think this will affect because of the basketball. Now, they did cancel basketball, and of course, many others soon after that. Craig was in Kansas City for the Big 12 tournament, flew in that night.
Nightmare.
Next thing you know, the next day, you're back. I remember being in the office when that happened. So
Harvard banned football in 1885, so they didn't play. They banned it for 1 year. I'm not sure of why that is.
People died.
Yeah,
I can give you a book downstairs. People died.
Oh, in 18. What was that?
People died in a game.
Oh,
and so there's this big movement for about 25, 30 years for people to ban football. So it kind of went on and off and on and off.
Well, their ban lasted 1 year, so they didn't take it all that serious then. They also didn't play in 1888 for some particular reason, and there's a bunch more like that. The 1894 game was so violent, the series was suspended for 2 years, so they didn't play between 1894 and 1897.
And so Yale won that game 12-4.
That's the 1894 game is when Teddy Roosevelt got involved. I'll give you the book, The Big Scrum. It's fantastic. But Teddy Roosevelt got involved because the academics at Harvard and Yale were saying, this is not good. We can't have our young men doing this. And Teddy Roosevelt was such a big fan of Harvard and Yale football back when he was there. So the Roosevelt family got involved. And then, of course, a few years later, he's president. Things start like really going towards the you should ban football. And he's the one who he got all the people in a room and made them.
Those are the only games, 3 of them, right?
No, there's way more there's a few more. World War I, they went away for 3 years. Or for 2 years, and I could keep going down. I'm only in the 1930s now, and they've already had 4 or 5 breaks in action. So, it wasn't played all the way through, although it obviously won't be played this year.
It shows every year in the 20s and every year in the 30s, all the way through after that 18-something. But the bottom line is it's an ancient, it is it's an amazing rivalry. They will not play, and no Ivy League. Football this year.
Yeah, it looks like it's been played every single year since 1945.
Okay. Now, you're right. 43 and 44, they did not have the game. You're right. I'm looking at the overall. That's a big deal. Again, there's a lot of things like Oklahoma and Nebraska don't play anymore. Texas and A&M don't play anymore. It's just part of the deal.
I hadn't heard about that.
I think Missouri and Kansas are starting to maybe get back together again. But Thanks to Leon, TJ, and Leon and Steven all being a part of the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line. 254-339-1122. And you could call us up. We'd love to hear from you on this as well. 3:30, Gary Anderson of Utah State. Why? Dave Aranda was on his staff at 2 different locations. And so we'll have him today at 3:30 about his thoughts of Dave Aranda and Utah State, which is a good football program. Coach Wells at Texas Tech was there. Jordan Love, who's now with Green Bay, was there. Quarterback. So Stanford eliminates a third of their programs. The Centennial Conference, Division III, announced they would suspend their fall sports due to Corona. Also, Wrigley Field was going to host Wisconsin Northwestern Big Ten football. They won't now on November the 7th. Not sure where they'll play that game.
I'm sure part of the reason for that was they were going to have a great, in Northwestern Chicago, they were going to have a great turnout, and it'd be fun to have a game in Wrigley Field.
And now you might have nobody.
But now you have nobody, so why does Wrigley Field need to do all that conversion work?
This will happen
nothing?
with, yes, exactly. NFL teams, the Ravens, 2020 season tickets deferred to 2021.
Yeah, I found that as of interest because you're seeing more teams start to do that and start to pull the trigger on, hey, if we don't have you here, then let's set you up for next year. So they're just getting ahead of the curve, I think, and trying to figure out what to do with season ticket holders and things like that, which I would appreciate as a season ticket holder. I would like to know well in advance of what my, money's going towards. And so if you're telling me in, early July that, hey, you're still going to have season tickets, it's just probably going to be next year if you so choose, then, it's just nice to know.
Yeah,
this was interesting. Go ahead.
I get further and further away from seeing fans in the stands anytime before December.
Jimmy Johnson tested positive for COVID.
Race car driver Jimmy Johnson.
Yes, not the former Cowboys coach or with Fox Sports. He tested positive. He missed one race. He's been cleared to return after he tested negative on both Monday and Tuesday. Here's one of the arguments. So Jimmy Johnson tests positive. That's one test. Then he tests negative, and then he tests negative again. One of the concerns by just the common folk, people, is that these guys are getting tested all the time, and some people can't get tested, right?
Yeah.
It's like the NBA guys are going to get tested, and baseball players every day, and that's,
at the same time, I look at it a little bit from another angle as well. How many of these college athletes would be walking around spreading it around their hometowns right now if they weren't getting the special, ability to have these tests so regularly? So I understand there is very much a privilege, and every time we hear, an athlete complain about the food or the accommodations or whatever, it's like, you do realize you're getting coronavirus tests like pretty much whenever you need it, whereas there's a lot of people that wish they could just get one. So there are some privileges that still exist no matter how much other things might not be up to standard. But, we wouldn't know about the 11 current positives that Baylor has. What are the likelihood that those student athletes or their extended family members or friends or people they came in contact with, we're going to go out and get a test at some point? Probably slim, right?
Yeah.
So we at least know about that. I saw where North Carolina just shut down workouts in the last few minutes. They announced 39 positives, and so they are shutting down workouts now.
Who's that?
North Carolina.
Okay.
So they shut down workouts, 37 of 429 tests. They didn't break it down by per sport athletes, but 37 of 429 has caused them to shut down. And again, to my point, would those 37 have any idea, or they just be walking around, going to parties on the weekends, doing whatever normal college kids do? Mm-hmm. I think they'd be spreading it. So I think it's definitely a privilege, but I think it's a good thing in the long run.
One thing about the Ivy League programs, this is not suspended. They're canceled. They're not going to change their mind in November. This is winter sports. They're done.
Yeah, and they're meeting. And
no, not winter sports, fall sports.
But they're meeting to determine if they can move these fall sports to the spring.
Who was the guard that was at Yale that played for basketball?
Makai Mason.
How many players in the Ivy League can now enter a transfer portal today?
That's probably another question they're going to have to answer.
Yeah, every time you change something, you got to realize there's some aftershocks to it, and there's some side things that pop up suddenly that you got to deal with that normally you wouldn't be dealing with.
Winter sports is basketball.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
Well, I mean, And I would think for a program like Yale, I mean, I don't know what their attendance and things are like, but I would have to think men's basketball has got to be pretty high up on the sport that actually makes money there.
Yeah.
More than football, I would think.
Yeah, I've seen Harvard and Yale play Baylor in the NCAA tournament. Smokey and I saw Harvard play Baylor in New Mexico, in Albuquerque, and then I saw Yale beat Baylor in Rhode Island. And while they didn't of course, Yale brought more people in Rhode Island. It wasn't that far. But, yeah, that's kind of the sport.
That's where they're getting their money.
It's kind of where they, that's kind of their shot, especially around that time of the NCAA tournament. That's when it's going to be the biggest hype. So
there's not a big bowl game that they're getting paid out to play in.
No.
2018 Ivy League football season. Remember, they only play like 9 games. No, I guess they played 10. On average, it looks like the attendance is anywhere from 1,800.
Wow.
The highest I see, 14,000 for Cornell and Delaware. Let me see, 10, 12,000. Dartmouth, Columbia's 12,000. Columbia, Harvard, 10,000.
So we're not talking big crowds.
13,000. The largest is Harvard, Yale, 34,000. They played that game in Boston at Fenway Park.
Yeah.
That was 2 years ago. That was without question the largest. Now, the stadiums, other than Franklin Field where Penn plays, and Yale, the Yale Bowl's got 61,000 capacity.
Yeah.
All the other ones are in that 11,000 Dartmouth to 20 to 25,000 Brown, Cornell. But Franklin Field and Yale Bowl, 52 and 61, that's bigger than 3 or 4 of the schools in the Big 12.
Yeah.
All right, we have Gary Anderson. He's the head coach at Utah State. Woodrow's barking because one of our great sponsors has delivered. Shorty's Pizza Shack, right, Paul?
Yes.
Has delivered a couple of pies for us to have today on the show. One of the great sponsors we have. Anything else? That's kind of a little bit of a summary. Gary Anderson will call in about 3:30 today. 10 years ago today, I'll never forget this day. I had just arrived in Waco maybe a week or two earlier, and tonight was the night 10 years ago that LeBron was going to make what was a disastrous on-television interview with Jim Gray to announce he was going to be a member of the Miami Heat.
We were at a bar.
Well, we were out. That was the night. It was like on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night. And I remember we were like, what should we do here? And I wanted to set the standard or the tone that if there's something that was a big deal, even though it got to be such a crazy thing, that we were going to break in with that.
Yeah, we did.
And we did. It was like maybe even during a Rangers game.
Mm-hmm.
And so LeBron made the decision. How much did that affect how people thought of him going forward?
I think it changed the way, because he just didn't come across, and that was one moment of his life, but he came across so arrogant in that moment. Not confident, arrogant. I'm going to take my talents to South Beach. Dude, why do you have to do this whole special? Like, what's the point of it? Just do a press conference like everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it maybe reaffirmed some people who weren't his biggest fan anyways of just kind of their feelings on him. But I think ultimately, while he got some blowback for it, it didn't affect him in any way. I mean, he still went and won 2 titles in Miami, and, he didn't win 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
That's stupid. But that was kind of the thing that I think did annoy people, and, deservedly so. I mean, he was so cocky about it, but for a lot of people, I'd say for the majority of people, they ate it up and loved it because LeBron can do no wrong and LeBron's the greatest. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I think that the majority of people thought it was cool or thought it was a great deal. But, yeah, there was certainly a lot of backlash, and he could have done that a lot better.
Here's the thing that's interesting is that first year was the Mavericks, right, where they lost to the Mavericks and Dirk, and they faked making fun of Dirk being sick. That's that. So you had that, and then you had the 1 and the 2, the 3. Then you had the Dirk series, the Maverick series, which Mavericks fans can live up forever. And I think that he may be, even as many MVPs as he won or whatever else, I think eventually, to me, that it turned back maybe in his favor when he won a title in Cleveland.
Yes. Yeah, and plus he wrote that letter and did that thing, about what he was doing.
I think for those that thought he was kind of a little bit of too much look at me, and it's not always his fault. We're the ones talking about him. But
oh, my gosh. There's so many. I saw an article on ESPN.com yesterday out of nowhere. It's just like Here's explaining why LeBron's the greatest. And it's just, and I see those articles all the time, and look, I get it, man, but the kind of idolization and all of that, I'm too old for those kind of feelings on athletes nowadays. I just think it's too much sometimes with his coverage. And I would have thought the same if MJ would have been covered the same way, I'm sure.
But MJ wouldn't have done that.
We don't know that because he lived in a different era.
That's true.
3:24
coming up next. Utah State football coach Gary Anderson on Utah State football, on Jordan Love at Green Bay, his quarterback last year, and his thoughts about Dave Aranda and his defensive genius, SicEm365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-through open, convenient in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street. It's easy. You just drive up, and you tell them what you want. Like, I would probably go up there right now and say, I'd like a bottle of Balcones Rumble and, maybe a bottle of Dripping Spring vodka. And they go and they get it, and they bring it out to me and put it in a bag. I give them my money, and then I go on my merry way and enjoy my beverages. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, hidden gem in Waco. Great craft beer selection. So you can go in the store, you can walk around inside that big refrigerator they have, pick out your craft beer, and again, be quickly and happily on your way. Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. And order 30-pound bags of live crawfish by noon on Thursday and pick up on Friday to enjoy the weekend. Live crawfish available right now. And Waco Custom Marketplace doors are open for business Monday through Friday from 9 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5. And crawfish boil boxes available as well. Make your order for live crawfish by noon on Thursday. Pick up on Friday for the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh kolaches, cinnamon rolls, and baked bread daily. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, and house-cured and smoked bacon. Spices, seasonings, soup mixes, charcoal, and lighter fluid. Waco Custom Marketplace, doors open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5, 425 Lake Air Drive or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
Carver's going to bring it out deep in the end zone. He was 8 yards deep, but he's dangerous. And he off the sideline. And he may have one more. Simeon Slider. Touchdown, Utah State. 100 points on the return from Scarver.
The SicEm365 Radio Live Guest VIP Hotline is sponsored by Stonewood Dental. We are all in this together.
So it's been a while since we've had a chance to visit with Dave Aranda. We will, the week of Big 12 Media Days, have a chance to have him back on along with some of the Baylor coaches. So what do? You find other ways. Players who played for Dave Aranda. Staff of coaches that he's been on before. And one of those, twice been on the staff with Gary Anderson at Utah State and also at Wisconsin. Utah State, a program that has done very well last year. Of course, Jordan Love, who was drafted by the Green Bay Packers, and Dave Aranda. If you look at his career and you see where he has been, and also who's been there as the head coach, like, for example, Gary Anderson at Utah State and Wisconsin. When Anderson was hired by Wisconsin, he went and found Dave Aranda. And we're now joined by Gary Anderson, the head football coach at Utah State, with us, with Paul Craig and David Hahn, SicEm365 Radio. Coach, first of all, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. How has what we face every day with coronavirus? We just saw the decision by the Ivy League. How has your program been able to handle the constant ups and downs and the unknown?
Well, it's been definitely a challenge. You know, we day two of spring ball, and next day we were basically shut down, and the kids were headed home. So it's I think our administration, our school, the kids, coaches have done all we can. We've adapted. We're back here with as many kids as we can get on campus and keeping them safe. I think our kids are doing a nice job of providing our trainers with information, and it's just a growing process. There's a knowledge base every single day that we continually learn and try to grow, and there's no set parameters. That's probably the most frustrating thing overall is that did
we lose him?
Coach, you there? Let me check.
Kids are they're working hard in hopes that the season.
Let's try to reconnect, shall we?
Gary Anderson, the head football coach at Utah State. Paul's going to try to reconnect with him. We had just interrupted a couple of different times, and we'll get back with him if we can. Is that right?
Yeah, he's clearly trying to get a hold of him.
All right. Gary Anderson, head coach at Utah State, where, in fact, Dave Aranda coached along with that Wisconsin as well. And we'll reconnect with him. One of the questions we had on the text line, by the way, was the situation with ESPN Radio, with Golick and all that. I don't care. But Glenn, I understand what you're thinking. I mean, he's been there a long time. They're changing. They're trying to change maybe what they hear or what people want. I don't know. He's been around. I just know this about Mike Golick Sr. All I know is this. Every time I met him, every time he was on a show with us, whether it was Radio Row or elsewhere, he always treated us like we were the only radio station in the room. We're now reconnected to Gary Anderson, the head coach at Utah State. Sorry, you were talking about you got as many guys as you can back on campus and just doing whatever you possibly can for whatever you can, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, our kids are in the weight room. They're doing the normal off-season training right now, and we'll get into the yellow period next week, hopefully, and we'll get a few more kids back on campus. But kids are resilient. They're battling through it, and we're educating and making sure we're keeping them safe as they can. That's for sure.
One of the things Coach Aranda told us when they were going through this is that, in a strange way, it actually built their team up maybe more than it would have had the situation been normal, because everybody had to come together and pull in the same direction.
Well, I think that there could be some truth to that. I don't like the fact that our kids can't get together. Then, here in Logan, we like our kids in the summertime to really
build a bond with the newcomers and have our leadership committee be out there and be part of things. So we've really missed that this summer so far. We'll see if we can get to do more of that. But again, kids are going to be kids, and you really have to truly educate to let them know that, hey, it just takes one mistake here to take a whole bunch of our teammates out of this. And we've had some kids that had to sit out of different things. But my personal opinion is I would sure like to have it back to normal where we can have barbecues at my house, and the assistants can have barbecues and have the kids around. And we love to cook them meals on Friday morning and have it be a kind of a hangout meeting. And now we kick them meals out there, and it's not really a barbecue. It's kind of a grab and go thing. And we're not great at that as coaches. We'd rather be around us.
Yeah, that's got to be something that's hard at everybody. And can you imagine, you've now been at Utah State before, now you're back there and you're following up your second time, but what Coach Aranda and others, and I'm not having you just talk about him, but we will eventually with the time he was on your staff as a first-year coach, do you think it makes it even more difficult when you haven't had a lot of time with your players?
There's no doubt. Yeah, that first year, there's so much value. And, I just went through the first year back here at Utah State, and I have a great knowledge of Utah State. I actually had my own child on the team for every year but 1 year when I was gone, so I had a knowledge base. But it still takes a year to even have any idea that you could sit back and say, okay, I have a pretty good feel about that kid. I have a pretty good idea who he is, and quite frankly, it takes kids time to open up to you. Most kids aren't going to come in the first day and say, "Hoorah, let's go." I love this coach and let's go get it done. You have to prove yourself to kids, and that takes a year, and you're losing those valuable moments every single day that takes when you can't see them face to face. And you have to get to know kids on Zoom. Come on now. I mean, really?
Mm-hmm.
It's nice, right? And we can all pretend that that's a great way to learn. That's a great way to teach. It's a great way to communicate. But I completely disagree. I'm more of a face-to-face, eye-to-eye guy. I like to see kids, real faces, not on the screen.
Coach, how much of an expert have you become at Zoom during this time period?
I'm horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same way I probably disconnected this phone, right, when I was talking to you the first time. So, I'm not good at this stuff.
Gary, when was the first time you heard of Dave Aranda?
First time I heard of Dave Aranda was we were both working at camp in Honolulu, Hawaii, and high school camp. And Dave was coaching, obviously, at Hawaii, and we were able to spend, it was an awesome camp. It was put together by a bunch of NFL players and a tremendous camp. So we were over there to spend a week together. He was coaching D-line, and I was helping out with the D-line, and got to know Dave there, and that was really the first time. Now, Greg McMackin was at the University of Utah way back when, and I've had those ties with the University of Utah for many, many, many years. So I knew Coach McMackin through that. And that was kind of the tie with Dave and I just kind of talked football. I watched him coach. And at the end of that season of Hawaii, we played Hawaii that year and won a crazy football game over there. And, Dave was in a position to be looking for a job, and I needed a D coordinator. And I called Greg and I said, Coach, how many, I need a D coordinator. And he said, good. Aranda's your guy. And I talked to Dave, had respect for him from the week we spent together, and I hired him.
Can you tell someone's going to be a head coach pretty early on when you hire them?
No, I don't think so. I really don't. And I don't think, I would say this, probably most people that early in their career when they're going through times and they've been a position coach, they start to be a coordinator. I don't think a lot of them sit there and say, I can't wait to be a head coach. I think they're formulating their ideas. But as you look and see in different personalities and the fit that they are, I don't believe Dave was just, when I had Dave with me when we were here and then we left Utah State and went to Wisconsin, I bet if I'd have asked Dave at that point, do you have to be a head coach? I don't think he'd said yes. He said, I'm going to be a hell of a defensive coordinator and work at that right now. We'll see what comes our way. But there's certain traits that would have to be a head coach. I think the biggest thing is they coach within their own personality because we're all very different and they don't try to be something that they're not. That's one of the key things for me. And then making sure that they listen and they're flexible. And I think Dave has always been those three things.
So he's got those attributes, but were there other things as well that you took note of over time that were impressive to you? I mean, he's obviously pretty soft-spoken. He's very well thought out, very calculated, loves football. What else can you tell us about Coach Aranda?
Yeah, he is all those things, and it's crazy you say that because I'm not. I'm opposite Dave, and I'll never forget sitting in those meetings with him. And at the time when I first hired him, and how he handled the defense, and he goes through things, and how he teaches, and he is so so thought out in that process. And hell, I used to throw the kids a spiral binder and say, "You guys write it down," so I know you write it down. And he teaches much different. So there were some moments for me. I was like, "Man, this is way different for me," but I told myself I just need to shut up and let him coach and take care of his business. He's also those things that you said, and a few things I would add to that. I said Dave is a tremendous teacher. He does truly care for the kids in the program, and they will understand that very, very quickly. He is going to hold them accountable, but he is going to have discipline in his own way. His family is everything to him, and he's a great husband. He's a great dad, and always has been. But he also is able to do a nice job in recruiting in his own way. And I say that in just simply saying he recruits within his own personality. And that's good because you want the kids in your program to carry the head coach's, personality. It can't all of a sudden be different than it was when you're sitting in the living room with the kid and the most important people in his life. So, those are some things I think that are great qualities that Dave has. You have been on occasion, early on you were on the offensive side of a staff, but you, for the most part, I think it's mostly been defense where you've been. Is that also something that you saw in him that you could tell with your defensive expertise what he was? Absolutely, and we had a great opportunity to do that because when Dave came here, not to get too technical, I was at University of Utah forever, and we were a 4-down middle close, cover 3, a man coverage unit, and he was a 4-down quarters guy. So we wanted to mix, and we wanted to find. We thought our best team was coming back for the next couple of years, but it was not a 4-down defensive front. So we all got together. It was Bill Bush, Derek Odom, Dave, myself, and a couple others. I can't remember who they were. We sat down and we transformed our defense really from a lot of things that SMU when Derek Odom was there to the odd front at times. And that's really where the odd front came for us. We didn't all of a sudden say we wake up one day and say we're going to go to the odd front and that's how we're going to do it. We sat and we made that playbook up and ground through that playbook and started our terminology that we had from here and years and years and years at Utah. Which goes back to Kyle Whittington's dad, basically, that defense, tweaked that, and then Dave had his ideas and thoughts, and we built the odd front. And at that point, I knew, we're in there putting together the defense, and Dave is a very good mind. And then he really ran with it from there. It was kind of a simple, basic odd package, but then he ran with it to what we'd call the creepers and things, which the Pittsburgh Steelers were doing. And Dave went and did that on his own. At that point, he was running the defense at Utah. I was not anywhere near the defense when I was here at Utah State with him, nor at Wisconsin. And him and Bill Bush did a tremendous job. So he evolved, and I think he was, he everybody gets ideas from other people, but he's very creative. He's got a tremendous mind, and he's always thinking to get better, and he uses the people around him in the right way as far as positive coaching.
He sounds kind of like a chef to me, Coach, and then he just takes this ingredient here and there and there, and then all of a sudden you've got this brand new dish that no one's ever tried before, and now everyone's trying to copy. Yeah,
he has some of that in him, but he'll be the first one to say that he does a great job of watching tons of film. Mm-hmm. He does a great job of talking with a lot of people and communicating with people to be able to get ideas and then tweak it. And the challenge of a coach when he has good players and has an opportunity to have a good football team is that you allow the kids to be able to make plays that can make plays, and you allow the rest of them to be able to be a great functioning piece to allow your great ones to show up and give those kids opportunities to be successful. And I think Dave does a good job with that, with personnel and allowing people to be able to, fit their role and then be happy with their role. That they walk in and say, "This is where I'm playing and what I'm doing." It'll be interesting to see now the adjustment doing that as a head coach. He'll go crazy. He's going to have to turn those reins a little bit loose over there on the defensive side of the ball and navigate a team, because I know he's told me he wants to be a head coach, not necessarily be a coordinator. And I think that's the right thing to do, especially the early years at a Power 5 program for sure.
Coach, what were your first thoughts when you heard that he was accepting the Baylor job?
I was happy for him. Really excited that that's an opportunity that he wanted. And, just in me talking to him as it went through time, it just sounded like it was such a masterful fit for him. And the kind of kid that he believes that he's going to be able to get there, and the kids that are on the team currently, and the views of the university as a whole, and all those things that come with it. He knows it's a tremendous challenge, but he was ready. He was ready to be a head football coach for years and years and years. When we've talked, he wanted to be a head football coach, and that definitely switched the switch flicked over for him to say, "Hey, I want to be a head football coach." But he also wanted to be at the right spot, which I commend him for that. Don't just go jump in and be a head coach because somebody's going to hire you to be a head coach. Be a head coach in the place that you believe in and you believe is a fit for you, so you can do the university right and do the kids right.
What is the most important position group with the defense that you run, or the one that Dave Aranda runs?
Well, gosh, I wouldn't really say that there's a position group. And the way I always teach this with the defensive kids to me, I said the way to get the best defensive backfield together and for you group of kids to be a great defensive backfield is have a really good pass rush, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Have really good DBs back there that can cover man coverage or get their zones the right way and give you a chance to be really good pass rushers. And I think that filters through a defense. The key for me is finding where you think you have, and if you're fortunate enough to have what you would call an elite player, and put him in a spot to make elite plays, and then you make sure that you put the rest of your players in a position to be able to functionally perform at the highest level that they can. And that'd be a backbone of the defenses that we've always been around. And I know when Dave was with me, that was, we had Chris Borland, we have Kyle Fackles, we have Bobby Wagner's and all those guys that have come here and played with us. And those are all linebackers, yes. But there's a lot of corners that were out there that can do those things that make special plays. So it just really depends on if they all work together. I think they've got a great chance. So I'd rather answer that question by saying let them make the position group in front of them better.
Gary Anderson, the head coach at Utah State, with us on SicEm365 Radio.
Coach, obviously your program experienced the boon of attention, and I've followed Utah State because there's been a lot of Texas players that have rolled through there over the years, but Jordan Love, the excitement that he brought, the attention that he brought to your program, now being in the NFL, just what was that like for Utah State, for the Aggie family, and for you?
Well, it was fantastic. It was awesome, and Jordan was just a great kid. He always was very steady Eddie. He knew he was walking into a team that was extremely young. He lost like 75, 80% of his production of his wide receivers. He had basically functionally a whole new offensive line, lost his left tackle first game of the year. But this kid never batted an eye. I think he fought through his senior year, and he gave us an opportunity to be able to get into a position to play 7 contested games that came down basically to the last series on offense and defense, and we won 5 of them. And we don't win 5 of those games if we don't have Jordan Love. But for university, all as a whole, for us, it was a fantastic experience. I think for our team, for Jordan, he had an opportunity to stay or go, and it was very, very. It was a great experience for me to watch him go through what he went through, all those stressors. And you guys know this, when you're a quarterback and you're a first round draft pick, you are getting stressed from the day your senior year starts, and probably quite frankly your junior year, getting beat up every single day by agents and people that don't need to be there, and everybody has all the right answers. And man, he never failed his team. He worked his tail off, whether it went the way he wanted it to or it didn't. So we all learned a lot from Jordan Love, and it was a tremendous experience for our football team and Utah State as a whole.
Yeah, and the success there has been good, and I know you guys are going to continue that with or without him. One more thing on Coach Aranda, if you don't mind. I've heard that when he gets in front of a film room, or he gets in front of whatever's used these days. Like I heard there was a projector. He likes projectors. He got in front of a bunch of Texas high school coaches back in the spring, and like you could hear a pin drop. Is that also when he gets in front of those X's and O's and schemes that it's kind of like almost like a genius mentality?
Well, he'll probably tell you he's a genius. I'm just kidding. He would never say that. Dave has a tremendous background, right? And it's all well deserved, and it's been highly successful. And he's been around some great programs and some great players. So when people talk about Dave Aranda speaking in a session, I would say that they should pay attention, because he is a very knowledgeable man, and he's gone through all those things extremely thought out. There won't be a stone that's unturned as far as preparation of a defense or whatever it may be, and I'm sure he'll be that as a head coach. So that would not surprise me a bit. Dave is, and his demeanor, the way he talks, you got to be quiet to listen to be able to hear him, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're talking, you're hearing a little conversation on the side, hell, you're not going to hear him talk. So,
Right.
And that's the way he is, and his demeanor is such as that he's going to, he's going to teach the way he teaches, and it's such a unique style. That I really had to, like I said earlier, learn and learn to understand, and kids will learn that. And I think that the coaches that were there, a lot of them probably heard him talk before, and they had great respect, and that's the way it should be when he gets in front of them.
Gary, thank you very much for accepting the invitation to come on and talk Utah State, Jordan Love, but also give us more insight on Dave Aranda at Baylor now. Thanks for your time.
I really appreciate it, guys. Stay safe, please. Okay, God bless all, and good luck to Dave. Good luck to Baylor Bears. Go get them.
Gary Anderson at Wisconsin, Utah State. Dave Aranda was there back at Utah State, and we appreciate the fact he was able to jump on with us to give us more on Dave Aranda. Coming up next, Jason King, also at 4 o'clock, Herbert Frazier on Kyron Jones, the Baylor commit from Shadow Creek. This SicEm365 Radio. Sometimes you got to learn how to dig deep. Just kind of find a way, no matter how difficult something might be, you just got to figure it out. And I learned that when it comes to when I started my journey of getting in shape back in March of 2013, when I just wanted to quit, just dying, huge, out of shape, miserable, no cardio, nothing. My lungs were hurting. And I remember one time when Christy London told me, you can do this. And I just, okay, you're saying that just because you want to get through the workout. And now it still works today. Whoever walks through the front door at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness. Earlier today on a long run, 9 miles. Heat, humidity, wind on the dam in our face, and I just found a way. Found a way. I wanted to quit many times. But I just said, you know what? Just keep your head down and keep going. And that's what you can be taught when you walk through the front door at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness. Christy London and Randall Corley, personal trainers. Group exercise classes, 40-plus of them dotted throughout the schedule every single morning, afternoon, and evening. And, of course, you can just go in there and do your own thing. Cybex machines, free weights, and about everything you would ever want, including clean locker rooms, whirlpool, sauna, and much more. And the energy inside that building is phenomenal. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can change your life, but you have to walk through the front door. And, of course, there's that tennis academy with Britt Coleman and Joe Rosa as well that's as good as anything you could ever want. And the facilities are phenomenal with the courts and even a center court that, man, is so special. It's Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Summertime means vacation time, and while this summer may be different, at Allen Samuels, you can always count on our huge summer clearance event. It's on. Brand spanking new 2020 Ram Lone Star Crew Cabs. Now 0% financing for 72 and no payments for 90 days. Or choose up to $10,250 in total values. America's most loyal half-ton pickup owners are Ram owners. It's time to say goodbye. Adios, 2020s, from Allen Samuels. Ask for details.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
We're fighting hard at Pickup Outfitters in our battle to end truck nudity. But it's not just about putting an outfit on a naked truck, it's about making sure you have the very best customer service. So we offer the Pickup Outfitters lifetime installation guarantee. Over time, sometimes your outfit needs a little tune-up, maybe some tightening, adjusting, whatever. If you outfitted your truck at Pickup Outfitters, that tune-up is absolutely no charge for the remainder of the time you own that truck. We also offer free warranty assistance. If for any reason you need to use your warranty, you just bring it back to us and we take care of it. It just makes sense. I mean, operating without a promise like that would be like offering customer service in the nude. And if you've seen our staff, trust me, You don't want that. So do your part to end truck nudity by outfitting your truck, Jeep, SUV, or van at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco, where we promise to serve you fully clothed. Check out our website, createacommotion.com.
Do you love Friday Night Lights? Would you like to have a bigger role than just watching the action to ensure the games are played fairly and safely? The Waco football chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO, can make that happen. The 2020 Texas high school football season is right around the corner, and we need you to be a part of it. There's a shortage of officials across the state in all sports, and you can help. If you love the game and want to be a part of the solution, you can help our local student athletes continue to participate in games they love. Never officiated before? Don't worry. Waco Football Chapter can help and prepare you to make the right call. And right now, Introduction to Football Officiating class is accepting registrations. Make your first grade call today by looking us up and contacting us on Facebook at Waco Football Chapter or at our website, wacofootballchapter.com. Find out more about the Waco Football Chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO. Go to wacofootballchapter.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The SicEm365 Radio poll is brought to you by Pickup Outfitters, where everything purchased and installed comes with our famous lifetime installation guarantee and free warranty assistance. 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
Thanks to Gary Anderson, Utah State football coach, on Dave Aranda. And even back when he was in Hawaii and they were at a camp. That's a good kind of tie-in. I didn't know that. And that's where they kind of got to know each other a little bit. We're now joined by Jason King, SicEm365.com lead writer. All right, Jason, the Ivy League has made their decision as far as their fall sports. We also know they were the first that canceled basketball tournament back in March. None of us think that has any impact on what's going to go ahead with the Power Fives. But your thoughts about what the Ivy League has done?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think they may have acted a bit early. I mean, I'm still curious to see how things are going to unfold here in the next few weeks or months or whatever. But I mean, it is interesting just when you get on Twitter and you see other people's reactions. They're thinking, oh, it's only a matter of time before, the Power Five conferences make this decision and do the same thing. And I'm kind of like you. I just don't see it happening in the Power Five, or at least I think they're going to wait till the very last minute and kind of exhaust every other opportunity. Like Mac Rhodes said, it's the last resort. And I just think comparing the Ivy League to the Power Five is so much different because, of the money involved with TV contracts and things of that sort. And the other thing people, I think, forget is, people talk about how it's going to impact a team and a conference and all. But I mean, when you cut football, I mean, it's not just money lost for a school. I mean, it's money lost for the entire economy and community that surrounds that school, whether you're talking about hotels or restaurants or bars or whatever. And that's kind of, when we shut down before, that's what drove everyone crazy and eventually forced us to reopen. I mean, people just losing money, hand over foot. I mean, I think when you cancel football, I mean, you're going to see so much more of that. I think that's another reason, these big schools are going to do everything they can to keep it going.
Well, the other difference is, the Ivy League's brought no one back for workouts. They're not doing any of that stuff. It's
right.
So the Power Five conferences, they will do everything they possibly can until the last minute. As where the Ivy League, their endowments, it's a different thing. Their endowments pay for their school and all that stuff. Their sports are almost non-revenue in most cases. So this is kind of the opposite what the Ivy League has to deal with and what, big state schools have to deal with.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's why it's just not a good comparison. I saw someone tweet a couple hours ago, it's just going to be bad optics for the Power Five schools. The Ivy League appears to be putting its athlete safety above everything, whereas the Power Five schools are putting money above everything. I just don't view it that way. I just think it's two completely different situations.
Jason, part of the pop quiz this week, you asked us who you think the most unheralded player in men's basketball will be to make an impact this year. What were basically the responses, and was there any kind of, I guess, consistency among the answers?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is there wasn't a lot of consistency, and to me that's exciting because that means there's several guys on the team that people are really excited about. I mean, I think a couple people, myself included, mentioned Adam Flagler, the transfer from Presbyterian. To me, Devontae Bandu was a huge loss for Baylor. I thought he won them a lot of games in clutch moments. Was a pretty good shooter and just a solid six man. But I really think that Flagler is probably going to be better than Bandu from what I've heard. I think he's probably a little bit better of a defender, just as good, if not better, of a shooter. So, that four-guard tandem, whoever the three starters are in the fourth guy off the bench, that's going to be really, really salty. And, JTT coming off the bench, he's a guy that is really going to have to play a lot. To me, the biggest question surrounding this basketball team this year is how do you replace Freddie Gillespie, because they lost a really good forward and didn't really, sign anyone to replace him, except for JTT, who's been sitting out as a redshirt. Didn't play much as a freshman at UNLV. Very, very raw, but just a physical specimen. So he's a guy that could really kind of surprise some people, I think. So those were two of the guys. Flo Samba, I think Paul mentioned, is kind of flown under the radar a bit. Hadn't had a lot of opportunities his first 2 years. I think he may be a redshirt candidate, but if he's not, I can see him getting some minutes with kind of a lack of size. So lots of nice pieces there. And the last one would be the breakthrough player, Matthew Meyer. He showed so many flashes, and I think he's going to get a bigger chance to shine this year.
How much, or in basketball, you have very few incoming players because of the way it is, and who knows what's going to happen with Teague and Butler, and if they come back, we know what they are because they're both spectacular. But how much does an incoming freshman have a chance to make an impact anymore in college basketball if they're not a one-and-done type guy?
I think that's a great question, and my answer would be not a lot. It all depends on the situation, but if you have any kind of nucleus returning, it usually takes a year or two to break through, unless you're one of those top guys. And Baylor has three freshmen coming in this year. I think all of them are pretty highly touted recruits. But you look at a guy like L.J. Cryer, point guard out of Houston, just a phenomenal player. I think he averaged about 30 points a game. You just don't see a lot of minutes for him this year, just based on everything that Baylor has coming back. And I'd say that about all the incoming guys. And just to kind of switch subjects, I really, after talking with Scott Drew the other day, just hearing, people around the program, kind of getting a sense from talking to him, I really feel like Butler and T are going to be back. And I'm excited about that. I think this is going to be a special year for that basketball team. Hopefully they get to play it under some semi-normal circumstances. But if all goes expected and those two guys are back, wow, what a backcourt and what a team.
All right, Jason, country song that makes you sing at the top of your lungs is John Deere Green?
I don't know what it is about that song, man. It's just one of those that when you turn it up and the chorus comes on, and he sings that the words are enunciated enough to where you can memorize the song real quickly and sing along. That's one that gets me. But I think "Friends in Low Places" was what Craig said. There's a lot of good country songs to me. That's a good pick me up and a good mood enhancer when you're on one of those long road trips. And 90s country especially is what I like. But that was my favorite song. I think everyone had a different answer, which is really cool.
Yeah, mine was Lee Greenwood, which is not really a country song, but he's a country singer, right? God Bless the USA.
Yeah.
Right.
You guys look at it. Well, I'm not country.
Yeah, no.
I've never been much of a fan of it. And it's not like there's not songs that I like to. Oh, it's a good one. But if you want to tell me the difference between Merle Haggard and Garth Brooks, I can't tell you the difference.
No. I picked Colin Baton Rouge. Craig was Friends in Low Places. We picked. Garth, to me, is the most easily sing-alongable country artist.
Sing-alongable?
I just made that up. Yes.
I love that word.
That's a good one. I was actually at a Reunion Arena back in the day when Garth Brooks filmed the Thunder Rolls video. I believe it's a concert video. I barely had heard of Garth Brooks. I think I was in the 9th grade. I tagged along with some high school seniors to this concert. They were all drinking beer in the parking lot. I was 14. But all of a sudden we walk into this concert and someone comes over the PA system and says, "Now, folks, we'll be filming the Thunder Rolls video for this. So there's a chance somebody could end up on camera." So really get excited. Of course, I was in the nosebleeds, but it was still kind of cool to be there and watch that video years later.
That's awesome. Leon on the text line, by the way, said, "That's my Baleen Hayes song." Now, we mentioned like 6 different songs. I'm not sure which one. I'm trying to get that feedback from
I
him.
guarantee you it's Colin Baton Rouge. That's a good – or John, I mean,
Yeah.
Colin Baton Rouge is good. I mean, you got a fast pace there, you know, for baling hay.
Green Tractor. Green Tractor.
John Deere Green.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
All right, Jason. Appreciate it, man. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, hey, one thing we got coming up on SicEm365, had a chance to go watch a little girls' high school basketball this week. And, you know, there's a girl down in San Antonio, Sammy Wagner, who's committed to Baylor. She's 15. This is the girl that committed when she was in 8th grade, 6'1", 6'2". Got to go watch her play this week. Had a nice chat with her. So we'll have something up on her soon. So, yeah. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, I remember. She's a class of 2023, and aren't
Correct.
you the one that had the feature, Craig? Who's the quarterback out of Louisiana?
Blake Shapen.
Oh yeah, Blake
Shapen. Yeah, that was good.
That was early.
It's amazing because you have what you're doing with all these features. A lot of them are like one-on-ones that you're getting. With what you said, which you mentioned with Scott Drew, the show. What Colt Barber brings to Grayson, his stuff, Craig and Grayson and their podcast, it's just filled with constant energy. We appreciate you, Jason. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
All right, coming up next, Herbert Frazier. I got to tell you, I had never heard of him. And then so last night, as I'm kind of going through a few things, just watching a couple of the stories and what's developing, I see this tweet from him about Kyron Jones of Shadow Creek High School, who last week, remember, was able to make the Elite 11. Young man from Shadow Creek who's committed to Baylor, who we've talked to. Now, well, Herbert Frazier tossed out a note about him that I said, whoa, I got to know what's going on here. Herbert Frazier from Decaney High School in spring on Kyron Jones, next on SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr Motors is overloaded with used cars and trucks. Over 100 in stock. They've got a lot of work to do to move these pre-owned vehicles now. Right now, you can find over 25 used trucks in stock, all at discounted prices. They also have a lot of options for you. I mean, amongst all of those used cars and trucks, but they also have the new models as well. How about the Buick Encore, the perfect crossover SUV with a roomy interior, pack safety features, the latest technology, and it's an extremely quiet ride. Right now, get a Buick Encore for only $19,900, a savings of $6,000 on a 2020 Buick Encore. And if you're looking for luxury, style, and power in a new SUV, well, don't settle. Drive the Cadillac XT4, XT5, or the 7-passenger Cadillac XT6. You can experience the thrill of owning a Cadillac XT4 right now for only $35,900 at Richard Carr Cadillac. They've got great prices, free oil changes with a new purchase, and in-town priority warranty service. All comes with your purchase at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Richard Carr Motors is the people you can count on, a local family dealer run by Baylor Bear alumni that wants the chance to earn your business. So stop by their showroom, which is disinfected daily, see their safety-focused staff, or they can bring the test drive to you and to your home. Your comfort and safety is Richard Carr's first priority. Find them at richardcarr.com or Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
In great times or tough times, you always feel better working with someone who's there for you. When it comes to great banking, people here count on the First National Bank of Central Texas, here to help you, your family, and your business. Personal banking via phone, desktop, tablet, and drive-through. And business banking tailored for all situations, including yours. Amazing tomorrows from the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com. Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
Play action again. Brewer takes it downfield. Shot! Mims has got it. Touchdown, Baylor. What a start, Waco.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozers Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
So last night, I'm just kind of monitoring a couple of stories and reading a couple of features about college athletics and just kind of looking around in my Twitter timeline. And then I see a comment from King Frazier Jr. And I was like, wow, that's pretty powerful. I can say this with all the confidence in the world. After what I saw today, Kyron Drones is the best quarterback in Texas. At Coach Sean Bell, at Coach McGuire_BU. You have a future Heisman winner on your hands. And Herbert Frazier of Decaney High School joins us now on SicEm365 Radio. Coach, thank you very much. You're probably in the middle of working kids out right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm actually, me and Antonio Cromartie, we just got to the field. We could have worked a group of kids out right now.
Antonio Cromartie, I just dropped in the neighborhood.
Hey, let me tell you, Coach, this is Paul Catalina. I went to Florida State. When I was in college, he was at Lincoln High School. That is the best high school football player I'd ever seen in my life. He was unbelievable at Tallahassee Lincoln. Ridiculous.
Man, I didn't realize, we've been working out here for a few months now. I didn't realize how big he actually is. Like, he's about 6'5", and he's long.
Yeah. He was nuts.
So your statement about Kyron Drones, and we've had Kyron on, we've had his dad on, he was at the Elite 11, we had him on again. So that's pretty powerful stuff right there. Your thoughts about what you've seen with him?
Kyron is a different type of quarterback. Like my statement, I said the statement that I said because I went to a workout he was having with his select quarterback. And the throws that he was making and the effort he was putting into the throw, everything looked so effortlessly. I watched Kyron at the end of, and he probably threw 150 to 200 balls yesterday. And at the end of the workout, I seen him hit the middle of the cross on the goalpost from 70 yards out without having to heave it, without having to put much effort into it. And he set his feet through it like he was just throwing a regular deep ball and hit it right on.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, it's just his attention to detail that Kyron has is I haven't seen a kid have that in a while.
When you see somebody who is effortless, I mean, because it's not something that's not really coachable, is it? That's just kind of in him, isn't it?
Yeah, that's just. I mean, it's just who he is. Because I mean, some people like you have to coach them up on how to do certain things. Kyron, you might can tell him one time, and sometimes you might not have to tell him. He fixes his own problems, and with like if he sees something that he already knows is bad, he'll fix it before you have to tell him.
How would you describe Kyron as a player, Coach?
Kyron is a winner, and that's another reason why I think he's the best quarterback in Texas. There's only one other quarterback that has been in the state championship game twice in Texas in the last 2 years, and that's Demetrius Davis. Mm-hmm. And Kyron has, as we can see from the Elite 11, Kyron was the only Texas quarterback that ended in the top 6. So that lets you know from that standpoint. And then he went to state 1 year as a sophomore, and they lost it. And he came back the next year and told them we weren't going to lose another game. And he went 16-0 and won. Again, you don't get too many 15-year-old kids that can do that.
Yeah, we heard the story that he was on his way back from AT&T Stadium and he was with his father in the car and there wasn't a lot said, and then he made that comment. And that just kind of, there's some people that say it just to say it. It's like, hey, we're going to win state this year. Then there's some that say it and they actually mean it.
Yeah, Kyron kid, and Coach Drones, his dad, he coached me when I was in high school, so I know what he instilled in Kyron. And then Kyron told us, like, he locked in. Like, Kyron is a dual sport kid. He played varsity basketball too, but he locked in because he knew what they had to accomplish and what he promised them. And you don't really see that. And to have a great quarterback, to have, like I said, a Heisman type of winner quarterback, you have to have that mindset that you're holding everyone accountable. Like, when his receivers weren't out there at the right time, Kyron calls and makes sure that everyone's there. On Sundays, Kyron makes sure that everyone is there. It's the stuff that he's doing outside of the field is what's going to make Kyron great.
Coach, what do you think about the fit with Baylor? Larry Fedora, obviously, Dave Aranda in his first head coaching gig, but when you heard Kyron and Baylor as a combination, what did you think of that partnership?
I thought it was great. I thought because he's going to be a Texas kid that stays in Texas. And most of the time, you see Texas kids and they want you to go to Texas or Texas A&M or something like that. But Baylor has actually been the best school in Texas that I don't think people is understanding. Just because their name isn't Astoria, that's Texas, or Astoria, that's Texas A&M. That's it with Baylor and Coach Fedora. Like, Coach, he's going to bring the defense. Like, you're going to have a defense. But the offense that they're running is going to be the offense that basically Kyron already runs in high school, and so he's going to come with already knowing it. So he'll have a chance to challenge with somebody as a true freshman, and so I think he's going to fit that. Like the last time I feel like Baylor had a quarterback that was a Heisman winner. I actually thought Charlie Brewer was pretty good last year. Don't get me wrong on this statement, but the last time was Robert Griffin that you got a top quarterback. And so when you get a top quarterback that comes to Baylor, he wins the Heisman. I feel like Kyron has that same type of ability, if not better. He's built like Cam Newton. And I don't know if you guys have seen him, but he is a man.
I didn't realize he was that big.
Yeah.
Yeah. He stands about 6'3", and his stature, like, he looks like honestly, like Cam Newton from his lower body build to his upper body build. And he throws the ball with such a velocity that I think, he's been working at it. And so it's like you can see from the tape, if you watch his film from last year and then watch how he was throwing the ball for the Elite 11, you can tell everything has just gotten better. His footwork, his eyes down the field, his placement, everything has just gotten so much better with Kyron.
So you've watched him play, and you said that his father coached you in high school. Why last night? Why was yesterday evening the moment that you said what you said about Kyron?
Because anybody can look good when they are in good situations. So last night when we were going through the workout, a lot of his receivers didn't show up. They didn't show up because of other obligations they had. So he was throwing to receivers he did not know. He didn't know well. And so with quarterbacks and receivers, everything is timing. Everything is timing. But you seeing him throw these routes, you seeing him throw the digs and the corners and the post, and a lot of that stuff is timing. And it looked like he's been doing it with them as long as he's been like throwing the ball. And it's like And I sit and asked him, I was like, these aren't your receivers, huh? He was like, no, these are my varsity guys that I was with. He was like, and so he was like, but I'm going to get in the group message that we had, and I'm going to get on them for not being here, like right when I needed you to be here. But so it's like, if these aren't your guys and you look good without your guys, now when you got your guys and y'all already have perfect timing and everything down, you're gonna look like the statement that I made, the best quarterback in Texas.
Well, Coach, you've already said some pretty big words about him. I know Baylor fans are thrilled to hear it. The only other question I guess I have about Kyron is just, their class is getting close to filled up. They got like another 8 spots or so probably to go. But just as far as the kind of pull that Kyron has is he sounds like the type of guy that will make other guys better, but he also sounds like the type of guy that perhaps will have some pull as far as other guys wanting to play at Baylor.
Oh, yes, definitely. He's going to have some pull. I know he's focusing on trying to have a season right now, but once he starts helping out on the recruiting scene and getting guys to go there, once they, like, as a receiver, you want to go catch balls now. Just like the receiver from Duncansville that's already committed there. Like, he understands, like, hey, I can get the ball from Kyron Drones in the slot in a wide open offense like that. Like, we don't have no choice but to be great.
Herbert, thank you very much, Coach. It was good. We just happened to see that note, and I'm like, huh. And then you and I traded a couple of messages last night. We appreciate you. I know you have to get back to some workouts, and tell Cromartie we all said hi, especially from an FSU alum and Paul.
That's right.
And thanks for your time, and we appreciate the insight. We really do.
No problem, Stickle.
All right, there you go. That's Herbert Frazier. It's King Frazier Jr. on Twitter with a pretty powerful comment about Kyron Drones and just watching him differently than a game and a workout yesterday in person.
Yeah, I mean, he said some really glowing, positive remarks, and it's great to hear if you're a Baylor fan. I think most are already pretty pumped about Kyron and what he's going to bring to the table. I think people are pumped up about this recruiting class, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reason to be excited. I mean, if not for just the uncertainty that, we're kind of still waiting on right now, I think the ending of last season, it looked like it was going to get kind of dark there when Rule left. People freaked out and everything. But then I think Dave Aranda over time has already kind of smoothed some of that over. We just haven't seen them play a game yet. But I think everybody's pretty confident in this staff and their abilities and that the players are going to be ready to go. And there's going to be some great defense. There's going to be some fun offense. I mean, I think the Aranda-Fedora combo is going to be pretty damn exciting, man.
If you just think about it, if any head coach got hired and that was their offensive defensive coordinator, you almost wouldn't care who the head coach was. I mean, it'd just be one of those things. You're like, oh, okay, well, that's great.
There's a lot of UT fans that were screaming for Fedora to be the OC at certain points last season when they were struggling on offense, and so he's a head coach for a reason. He'll be a head coach again someday. I would almost put my next paycheck on it or whatever. But no, I mean it's a dynamic combo. Not to mention all of the other tremendous coaches, whether veterans or still kind of carving their own path or what have you early on in their careers. I mean, these guys can recruit. I know they can coach, and I'm just excited to see it. But, there's a lot of buzz already building about this recruiting class. They've got to hold on, of course. I mean, that's going to be as much of the battle as anything else with recruiting is. It's great to get the commitments, but the signatures are the more important thing. And I feel pretty confident they're going to have some success whenever that first signing day is, because that's probably something else that'll get moved around. But no, they're building something pretty nice, and I'm just looking forward to seeing it on the field.
If you look now at their depth chart at quarterback, you have obviously a Brewer. He's the dude. Zeno and what he flashed last year against Oklahoma. We've seen Bohannon. They have Chapin. Garrett McGuire, let's not forget about him. He's on the depth chart. He's there too. And then you add a guy that's won a 6A championship of what we just heard. Am I missing anybody else?
Well, Charlie and Kyron won't play together.
No, I know. I'm just saying that there was a point, and I can't remember when it was.
It was
maybe
probably
Befire.
Anu Solomon.
Yeah, and you looked at the quarterback, you're like, oh my God. And now, man, there's some juggling going on. And Chapin's a baseball player, right, too? Isn't it what he also does?
He's a dual sport guy, but
he's going to play baseball at Baylor, too.
Yeah, apparently so. That's what he said in his commitment announcement a few months ago. So, that'll definitely come into play, I'm sure. At some point or another, where he'll have to make a decision or what have you, but I don't think that's going to be soon. But to your point, I brought up that Charlie and Kyron won't be around together because that depth will then be different. And so next year, when Charlie's gone, you'll have Zeno, who will be an upperclassman, or no, he'll be like a redshirt. Yeah, I guess he would be an upperclassman
redshirt sophomore.
Redshirt sophomore. Man. Yeah. So they'll have, redshirt sophomore and Jacob Zeno. Bohannon will still have another year or two left. You'll have Chapin, who's going to be, very early on in his career, and Kyron Drones. So, there's four stud quarterbacks, and that will be an open starting job because Charlie's going to be gone. So, let's really hope we have spring ball next year because that's going to be some fun stuff to cover if you got Chapin, Zeno, Drones, and Bohannon all battling it out.
All right, again, all the Baylor segments brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac on Imperial Drive exit off Loop 340 and Highway 6 in Waco. Richard Carr Motors are people you can count on, locally run family business. Baylor Bear alumni want a chance to earn your business. When we come back, we'll have an open line segment, also take some text line feedback from you. Also, at 4:45, we're going to get into high school football. I kind of got away from the show coaches on Monday and Tuesday because things had been shut down and wasn't sure. But when the UIL today made the decision and announced that the guidelines and people back on campus, student athletes back on campus starting Monday, and even more access than before on July 13th, it's time for us to get back to our high school circle of coaches in Central Texas. As we go down the list, and Coppers Cove's Jason Hammett will join us today, first-year head coach of the Bulldogs. This is SicEm365 Radio. Petty Clinic Low T. Dr. Kent Petty and his staff can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be. What does that mean? It could just mean feeling better, be re-energized, stop being, lethargic. The possibility that you're also affected because you don't have the ability to have the sex drive or performance that you've had before. And in this day and age, you can't watch television without watching some sort of commercial about ways to try to help improve that. Dr. Kent Petty can help you improve it by, one, helping you get discounted lab work, your blood work done. He'll get the lab work, the blood work, get the results, testosterone level, and if it's too low, maybe just a little bit or quite a bit, he can put you in a program to help you raise your testosterone levels so you can be the man, the high-performance man you want to be. PettyClinicLowT.com is the website, PettyClinicLowT.com. Their location on Old Hewitt Road, just off of Highway 84 in Woodway. Again, get discounted lab work. Dr. Petty will get the lab work results, the blood work, and then if you need your testosterone level raised, increased, he can do that by putting you in the program to do so. And he also looks at the other parts of your blood work as well. PettyClinicLowT.com. If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance, and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one, commercial, farm and ranch, or residential. Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
It's summer. Time to go somewhere in a new Jeep from Allen Samuels. It's our huge summer clearance event featuring 0% for 72 and no payments for 90 days on our hottest models. Pick a new 2020 Jeep Cherokee Latitude with $5,750 in total values, or 0% for 72 and no payments for 90 days. Or the fun 2020 Jeep Renegade with up to $7,000 in total values, or 0% for 72. Adios 2020s from Allen Samuels.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The SicEm365 Radio app is sponsored by Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
All right, here we go, this 4 o'clock hour. In the next segment, Jason Hammett, head coach at Copper's Cove, will join us. So earlier today, the Ivy League says they're not suspending, they're canceling the football season. There won't be games. They're working on what they're going to say about the winter sports, which is basketball, which the Ivy League teams, on occasion, they've been some of the fun, exciting. Was it Princeton beat Indiana? Yale beat Baylor, right? There's been other upsets along the way. That whether or not what they're going to do with winter sports, I don't know why you would have to make that decision about winter sports, and I'm not so sure even why you have to make decisions about fall sports today.
I don't know. I guess just maybe feeling like it's not going to change all that much and you're kind of already set in your way of thinking, so why not go ahead and just make it official? I don't see the Ivy League, doing a 180 in a month's time, even if the numbers are to go way down. I suppose they could, but it doesn't sound like they're going. I mean, it sounds like it's done deal no matter what. They're not going to have any fall sports. So, that's the Ivy League's decision, and I'm not always in agreement when people say that there's actual sports media guys out there rooting for the virus and rooting for the shutdown of all sports, because I think that that's a dangerous game for those guys to play. I'm not saying there's not anybody that's like that, because I know that everybody that covers sports doesn't necessarily love it. It's just what they were assigned to. But I will say this without calling specific names, just because I don't have anything against these guys, but I've seen like the same 4 or 5 sports reporters all day today. Anytime I've looked at Twitter, and I look at it probably less than I ever have since I've had it, and that's for real, because I try to avoid the overwhelming amount of negativity. But from the first time I looked at it earlier today to like mid-afternoon before the show to even right now, the same 4 and 5 sports reporters are hand-wringing and, well, God, what if this and just calm down and let it play out. Like, we don't need to hand-wring over every new announcement and over every single new test result and over, just
like I said to start the show yesterday.
Yeah, well, it's crazy.
I could give everybody in this room tons of scenarios that could, if you took them all seriously, we could freak out about. Like, what if we walk out of the door tonight, I open the door to take Woodrow for a walk, and all of us get attacked by killer bees?
Yeah, it could happen.
It's happened in the world. It's not likely, but it could. I mean, I can't walk around worrying about killer bees.
Right now,
I can't worry about stuff that I can't control right now. And you have to have faith in the fact that, most of the people, there are certainly some athletic directors and university presidents that are duds that will put a wrench in this machine at any point because they're duds and they're loud voices and they're trying to get attention. But for the most part, the athletic directors, the presidents of the university are very smart people who know what they're doing and are not going to make a rash decision. And whatever decision they do make, and if they do push it to spring, the information they've been informed with means that they have to do that.
Yeah, they're not doing it just willy-nilly.
No, this is not going to be one of those. If they push football to spring, especially based on what Mac Rhodes told us yesterday, it is going to be because every other option has been exhausted and they have zero other options.
Yeah.
That's it. So I think we've got to get through a lot of other options before we get to the they're just going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy how people I just wanted to DM one of those guys and say, dude, just log off for a little while. I really wanted to. I just wanted to say, dude, just log off. I mean, you're stressing me out over how you're stressing out over something that's entirely uncontrollable and that you don't really have all the facts and knowledge about anyways, because, I mean, no one really even seems to. So, again, it's nothing personal against people who get worried or whatever, but it's just the constant worry and, oh my gosh, the sky is falling that some people seem to wallow in. That's
exactly right.
So toxic, and it's just so not healthy for those individuals. And so if you catch yourself just stressing the heck out constantly over something like coronavirus or whatever and all the intangibles and the variables, just maybe just log off a little bit and just take a deep breath and look around at the real world. And we can get back to worrying about it at some other point, but doing it all day long is not changing anything about the results.
I'll use an analogy, and I know that the people look at numbers and what's going on with coronavirus, whatever, but I remember for the first time ever, back in 1988 or 89, the TV station that I worked for, KLTV, was owned by Buford Television. And they sold to a company that was bought by Frank Melton and others. And all of a sudden, there was a 401k that just had to become open. You had the, I don't know if it was cash out. You could roll it over, and I did. It was a nice chunk of money that I'd never seen before. So we had to make some decisions. So we put it back in the stock market. Right? Mm-hmm. We put it back into stocks. I had never looked at any stocks in my life. I had never looked at the pages of the stock market, the newspaper. I'd never cared, and there was no internet yet. And all of a sudden, every single day, I find myself looking at the stock market page. One, I don't understand it. Now, I understand when it goes up and it means it's good, and it goes down, and there's going to always, in the end, after 50 years, it's going to be about where you want it to be and grow. But it drove myself crazy. Of course, then there was a crash. That was miserable. But I'm comparing that to what we're saying now about whether we're going to play, if we're going to play, is it a conference game? It drives you nuts.
Well,
I've decided we'll mention stories. The Ivy League's a story. We'll mention the UIL coming back to working out. And I know that tonight or tomorrow or the next week it could change, period. But I'm not going to sit there and dwell on it every day.
Well, no. And just like I said with the ADs, if you have trustworthy financial advisors, yeah, you might lose a little bit of money sometimes. Nobody's perfect. The market fluctuates. But if you have good people that you trust, you're not going to lose it all, and that's where we are right now. Just let's trust the people. And, yeah, look, every time I can give you a smart athletic director, somebody's going to pull out this guy who's kind of a dingus and doesn't really know what he's doing. But for the most part, college sports got to be this juggernaut, not because dumb people were running it.
Even what you may think of the NCAA or whatever. You're right. You're exactly right.
How about some positive? Would you like some positive?
Yes.
Okay, it's not going to be the test results because that's bad again. That's still bad. But this is actually some maybe positive news, although I'm sure this will be followed up eventually by, they'll have this ready in 10 months. But regardless, researchers from the University of Houston have designed an air filter that can trap COVID-19 or trap the virus responsible for COVID-19, killing it instantly. The catch and kill filter was designed by Zhifeng Ren, the director of the Texas Center for Superconductivity at the university, collaborated with Manjur Hirani, the CEO of Metastar, and other researchers designed the catch and kill filter. They reported the virus test at the Galveston National Lab found 99.8% of the novel virus that causes COVID-19 was killed in a single pass through a filter made from commercially available nickel foam heated to 392 degrees Fahrenheit. This filter could be useful in airports, airplanes, office buildings, schools, cruise ships to stop the spread of COVID. Its ability to help control the spread of the virus could be very useful for society. They're proposing a desktop model which would clean the air in an office, workers' immediate surroundings. And what they do know about COVID is that it can linger in the air for about 3 hours. Mm-hmm. So a filter that could remove it quickly would certainly, if the filter gets it done in like 15 minutes, well, that's 2 hours and 45 minutes. Well, it's not hanging around in the airways, which would be fantastic.
And probably faster than that at the bigger
and
you
probably
go.
Faster, yeah.
So I just think about this if you put it at the Farrell Center.
Right.
An indoor place that it's 10,000 people. So you've got a filter there that's going to catch this thing. I mean, that means that, that mitigates a lot of your risk again. So if, somebody shows up with it, then it's not going to, flood the whole thing. And the outbreak in Italy is, a large part of it is credit to they had this, AC Milan soccer game that everybody went to. And when they came back, it was kind of like all over in Milan. So, if we can find out a way to do that and make stadiums better. I mean, outdoor, there's no filter for that really, I guess. But indoor stadiums, which would take AT&T Stadium, Globe Life Park, Minute Maid Park, every basketball arena that we can think of.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good news.
Yeah, I don't know how exactly it works. Obviously, it just says it's a catch and kill filter. But at least there's something positive. I mean, that's all I'm looking for is they found a way to kill the virus 99.8% of the time through a single pass. So 2 passes, it's gone. I just don't know if this is a just filters thing. One thing it did say was Metastar knew that the virus can't survive temperatures above 158 degrees. Well, as hot as it is, and how hot as it will get, we're not going to reach 158 degrees. So they decided, since they can't have that type of temperature, to use a heated filter, and that's what made the almost instant killing of the virus.
I'm listening, and I'll listen to any of these opportunities. There's
Somebody's
everyone
about to make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you mentioned is just listen to those who know, and that's my biggest problem. Is I'm not so sure who you believe anymore, and that's kind of maybe negative, and perhaps just because of where our media is. Not either way, just because none of them seem to be someone you can trust, and I hope that doesn't include us. 254 from J Train. Good point. It's like losing weight. If you look at a scale every day, it could drive you crazy. I love listening to you all. J-O-B, the J Train. Thank you. Appreciate that, man.
Look, thank you, J Train. And I'm definitely not telling anybody how to conduct their business on social media or any of that. I'm just saying I think it's not a bad idea for everybody, and just your own mental health to every once in a while take a step back and take a deep breath. Because if you just inundate yourself with sky is falling all the time, all day long, that's just no way to live.
Well, and, okay, there's plenty of things you can worry about, but what can we actually control?
Not much.
Not much of it. So control what you can control.
Right.
I had a talk with a buddy in Florida the other day, and he was really freaking out about the election. And I was like, dude, we can worry about it in November.
You can go vote, and that's all you can do.
That's all we can do.
Yeah.
I can't control anything that any politician says.
Right.
It'd be nice if
Lord knows if we could.
If
we would.
If we could. But again, that's not a job that anyone want to have either, because you got to run around and keep a lot of dumb people from saying dumb things. So just worry about what we can worry about and move on.
Yeah. So that's from the University of Houston. That's got some promise. I know we've heard about all sorts of other vaccines that are being developed and the timetable that it takes and everything like that. But I wanted to pass along some positive news. So maybe U of H is part of the key to us returning to more of a normal. And I also wanted to mention another positive note that Lorando Johnson, Baylor recruits, now on campus. So.
Oh, the kid from, LSU?
Yeah.
Commit?
Yeah.
Yeah, he tweeted like a hello, Waco.
Yeah, and then his head coach said, shout out to Lando Johnson reporting to Waco for Baylor football. We're proud of Lando for beating the odds and making it to the next level. What a story you'll be able to tell. Your passion, loyalty, and competitive spirit is unrivaled. Lancaster is still here to help you succeed.
Chris Gilbert?
Yeah. It's a go be great. So that was from his high school coach.
That was a cool time when he decided to come to Baylor, and Chris Gilbert, his head coach, and Claude Mathis at DeSoto, and then you also had the commitment from the big Murphy kid, the defensive lineman. Yeah, there's been a lot of really positive news when it comes to this class of 2021. Of course, I know that Lorando Johnson is this year, but they've all of a sudden kind of got themselves with Joey McGuire, but also with Omar Hales and others. That's South Dallas area.
I think if they can just win some games, which is always a key to pretty much everything, you're right. the recruiting seems like it might be heading to like kind of another level potentially, just because of the different connections that this staff has and the fact that there are a lot of good recruiters on staff. I mean, Rule's staff did a great job too. They did it a little bit differently. Each staff does, but I really wish we could have seen what normalcy would have looked like during the spring and all that, because I think Dave was taking it to a completely different level, actually being able to get hands-on or be around these kids on regular visits and whatnot. But once that time comes, then sky's the limit because they're already killing it.
Thanks to J-Train, Glenn, Carl, Steven, TJ, all of you who have been on the text line today, brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine. And, of course, don't ever forget, if you want to, the chat room. We got to get that kind of rejuvenated, the Willis Law Firm Injury Lawyers chat room. Like I had the other day, someone, Baylor 88 Bear, really enjoyed today's guest, and then he asked about a podcast with Joe Green. We were able to respond to him. And Edmund Bear yesterday, was actually earlier today, great question about spring football. Max response, only as a last resort. There is no way you could get 12 games in. That got a lot of traction, what Mac Rhodes said yesterday, especially with what you see in today's news with the Ivy League.
And, take it for what it's worth, but I saw a report just a little while ago, or it might have been earlier today, from some reporter who said that he had talked to some Big Ten officials, and they were saying that they're kind of, or whoever it was that he talked to, that's an apparent Big Ten official, said they're kind of gearing towards the 10 games, so that would probably wipe out non-conference, which I think is something that just about everybody, it would suck for the small schools, but I think just about everybody would sacrifice the 3 non-con games or whatever to have your conference games. But the Big Ten is looking at that possibility, and it perhaps is even likely. But shoot, I'll take 10 versus 0.
Hey, no, if you could tell me they're going to play a conference schedule right now, if they said, hey, now I want more, but if you told me now that every conference will play their full conference schedule, let's say, when do we start?
Yeah, and what we're talking about, probably 20 really good non-conference games that we'd lose nationwide, if that.
The problem would be the schools that get paid in those games in August
games,
or late August, September.
I'm just talking about for television, for stuff that,
no Texas LSU.
Yeah, you'd lose the Texas LSU, and that would be a bummer. But, I mean, does that mean that we get 10 games?
And
yes.
Here's Baylor with their best non-conference schedule in forever.
I know.
Which is a good thing. And I'm telling you, they will be tested.
Yeah, we just can't
Big
have
time.
we just can't have nice things.
All right, coming up next, we'll have Jason Hammond. He's a first-year head coach at Copper's Cove because Barry Alvarez. Coach Alvarez, Jack Alvarez, went to Cuero. His son now is the head coach at Garrison, by the way, Barry Alvarez's son. But coming up next, Jason Hammond, head coach at Copper's Cove, his thoughts about the UIL, saying, hey, we're back open for business for workouts starting Monday. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They are the people that you can count on. They've got the daily disinfected showroom. They've got great salespeople that wash their hands with regularity. And, besides having your safety in mind, they also have some great deals. They've got an overload of used cars and trucks. I've mentioned that to you plenty of times at this point. You should know by now, if you regularly listen, that there's over 100 in stock, 100 cars in stock at Richard Carr. They got a lot of work to do to move these pre-owned vehicles. That also entails over 25 used trucks in stock, all at discounted prices as well. And today I'm going to highlight the Buick Encore, the perfect crossover SUV. It's got a roomy and spacious interior. It's packed with all the latest safety features and the latest technology. And as somebody who just a few months ago made the switch from a 2003 car to a 2018 SUV, I was blown away by all the technology. And I'm not even the most up-to-date. I'm still like a couple years out, so you can only imagine how tricked out some of these vehicles with their technology and safety features are. Right now, you can get a Buick Encore and check all of those safety features and tech out for only $19,900. That's a savings of $6,000 on a 2020 Buick Encore. So not only do they have great prices, but they've also got free oil changes when you purchase a car, in-town priority warranty service when you purchase a car at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. They are truly the people you can count on. Local family dealer run by Baylor Bear alumni. They want the chance to earn your business. So again, stop by that showroom. It's disinfected daily. See their safety-focused staff. They're always washing their hands. Or if you still don't feel all that comfortable, they can bring the test drive to your home because your comfort and safety is their first priority. Find them at richardcarr.com or Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
So it's time for us to have a talk because obviously your buddies aren't telling you, and neither is your woman. You've been driving that truck around, exposing your stuff. It's not only embarrassing, it's disgusting. I'm talking about full frontal truck nudity, and it's time for you to do something about it with a grill guard or a front-end replacement bumper from Pickup Outfitters. There are lots of good reasons to get a grill guard, like when Bambi decides to cross the road at the same time you're occupying it. But the best reason is that no one wants to see your junk up in your grill. Pickup Outfitters on Lake Erie Drive carries all the major brands of grill guards, including Ranch Hand, Cattleman, and even the Renegade brand, made right here in Waco. And every grill guard we sell comes with our lifetime installation guarantee and no-worry warranty program. Won't you help us end truck nudity? Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Erie Drive in Waco. Check out our grill guards on our website at createacommotion.com/guards. createacommotion.com/guards.
Texas board certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
How often have you said it's time to get in shape? Every day, every week, every month, maybe for as long as you can remember? How about starting today? I promise if you'll just join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness now, you'll thank me later. Hi, this is David Smoke, offering a variety of 40 group exercise classes every single week, including boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15, plus spin, body shaping, Pilates, yoga, and bar. And oh, there's a free kids club as well. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday, 5 to 10, Friday, 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday, 7 to 7, and personal trainers, Christy London and Randall Court. World-class tennis facility with pros Britt Coleman and Joe Rosa with lessons, camps, and special events. Spacious and clean workout rooms, locker room for men and women, both with a whirlpool and sauna, and now there's touchless bottle filling stations. No intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an entirely new atmosphere, and yes, you can do this, but you have to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Log on to the Willis Law Firm chat room on SicEm365.com.
One of the bigger news notes today in Texas is the UIL saying that next Monday, businesses, so to speak, I guess you could say, high school football and other athletes and strength and conditioning workouts can resume. And even then, even more, that's even more accessible, the locker room based on some protocol and guidelines, among other things as well, including the possibility of group-type one-on-ones in a way, although one-on-ones means individual. We're now joined by Jason Hammond, first-year head coach at Copper's Cove on SicEm365 Radio. Jason, what does today's, I guess, the release by the UIL, your thoughts about it when you saw it? Did you ever have a doubt that they would say, okay, it's time to come back?
Not really. Knowing the UIL, knowing what they're trying to do for the state of Texas and the athletes in Texas, I knew that their plan the entire time was to play. They're going to give us every opportunity to do that. And this is just the next step for them. there's a lot of good news in here, and there's a few things that we're going to have to, address and make sure our athletes and coaches are all on board with. The face mask wearing's one. I mean, but it's really, really good news.
Coach, for you guys that you're in your first year, what have you had to do to kind of get to know your kids a little bit better, so that the transition back to working out goes a little bit smoother, because you are in your first year as a head coach?
It's just a change of role for me. I was here with Coach Alvarez the last 2 years, and I know the kids. The biggest transition and the biggest was this COVID-19 stuff. So it's been, we did a distance workout for months. It seemed like it was forever. And then we had a chance, when they let us come back in June, first day of workouts, we had over 420 kids show up. That's how hungry these kids were to work out. So, it was really good to get them back on campus and get started back in June. And we've taken the last couple weeks off, planned to be off anyway. And then, we took these last 2 days for the UIL and we're super excited for the next step, being able to do some drills and some competitive kind of drills.
Well, Coach, you kind of answered my question already with the number of players turning out. I mean, that's a great number for your program. Just, being young men, being teenagers caught up in just what seems like daily news breaking and just constant changeover. How do you think your young men have handled all this?
Well, on that number, that includes all our athletes, boys, girls, everybody. But, about 200 football players, so really, really good at that. I mean, it's they've handled it pretty well, and that you can tell at first, there's obviously they're out of shape and they need us. That's really what I saw the most of, and we need them. So it was really good to get back and get things kicked off, but it was good.
Barry Alvarez, I keep saying Barry Alvarez. We had a coach that was at Wisconsin. We had Gary Anderson on from Wisconsin, who's now at Utah State. Jack Alvarez, who's now at Cuero. You said you were on his staff for a couple of years, and he was trying to turn that thing back around. What were some things he gave you as advice of what you can try to do?
Well, the first thing you got to learn from Jack Alvarez is you got to be yourself. That's what he is 100% of the time. I'm not him, so it's going to be different. But, in terms of the standards that he requires of his coaches and kids, that part won't change. But, everybody's got their own personality. He told me a lot of stuff. He's been around. He's had a lot of experience, a lot of success. And, the biggest thing, what he tells, the kids and everybody else is, this is going to be more than just football. If it was just about football, I don't know if we can make it as long as we make it. So it's got to be about something else. And ours, these kids teaching them something more than football is really what I've been so happy with here in terms of helping these kids out, and then thus they help us out with what we're trying to do. But you got to be yourself, and you got to expect a lot of the people around you.
It's been a while for Copper's Cove. They've had the run, and I know last year's that didn't go well. The year before that, you guys were able to get in the playoffs. Temple helped you, with all due respect. And I like Scott Stewart and Temple a lot, but it's been a while. It's been a reason why there's been some changeover and whatever else. What do you see within the guts and the core of the athletic department as far as not just what you're working with this year, but inside the junior high, and where is the football program?
Well, like everywhere else, there's some struggles that you got to go through, but like if you start looking at our kids and being able to compete at a very high level, we've got a lot of younger groups that are in that situation. We played a little junior high district with Belton and Temple and Midway, and some really good competition. We've had our 2B ninth grade and our 2B eighth grade really held their own in that district. So there are two groups that I really look at for in the future in terms of what this job and what these kids are going to make of this place. It's going to be that group. And our freshmen last year, really good group of kids. Really held their own in a pretty tough situation. most of the year. Again, we know who we're battling for and what we want to become, and those schools are the ones that we're, with our freshmen, 8th grade, 9th grade, we're marking them on the calendar, and those kids are stepping up to the plate to compete.
By the way, Jason Hammett has also coached around the Central Texas area, Robinson High, Ennis, where they won a state championship, Corsicana with that program, and also was at Centennial in Burleson. And you're a Happy High School graduate. I've always wanted to say that. It's just what a great name for you to. Where are you from? I'm from Happy High School. And no, really, where did you go to school? And it's fantastic that's your alma mater. You were one of your moments that I asked you about, the most exciting moment. You were in a 5 overtime game against while you were in Corsicana. Is that correct? Or was that when you were in Ennis? That's right.
Well, no, in Corsicana, we my last year in Corsicana, I believe somebody told me it was a national record. We won 5 overtime games that year.
Oh, okay.
We won 6 games in the season, and 5 of them were in overtime. So it was there's a lot of different ways to describe that, nail biting, and as an offensive play caller, it was. I would probably say at the end of each one of those, it was super exciting. For 99% of those games, it was a different word other than exciting.
Yeah,
so,
I can imagine.
But yeah, we had a really good defense that year, and they kept us in a lot of games, and we struggled on offense. We ran 3 quarterbacks that year, and it was it was a struggle at points. But I'm super proud of that year. Those kids were just they would find a way to win at the end of 5 games in overtime. So.
What have you learned about young people? This is my last question for you, Jason Hammett, Copperscope. What have you learned about young people during this time of COVID and the changing times in America?
Well, it's a lot. I've learned a lot. I've got 3 kids of my own, and for most of this, I worked and were with my kids during this time too. So, I think kids, not just kids, but everybody, but kids in particular at this point, they crave structure. Sometimes they say they don't like structure. Sometimes they'll act like they don't like structure, but they really crave it. These kids, they need this as much as anything else in their lives. They need to have a place to come that they're loved and taken care of, but also asked a lot of. And so I've really, there's a lot of time. We've had a lot of time to think about stuff now. So, it gave me a chance to look at these kids, and when they come back here, even when they may not make you the happiest, you got to make sure that you understand why they're here and what they're going to get out of this. And they need us, and we need them. So.
Jason, good luck, man. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. That's Jason Hammett. Again, UIL saying that workouts can resume Monday on campuses. And, in fact, there can be some group drills as well. It's like individual, I guess, one-on-one type drills as well, offense against defense. Thanks for your time, Jason Hammett. Coming up next, John Machota from theathletic.com. Also, Ross Dellinger is going to join us from SI.com, college football writer. This is SicEm365 Radio. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, bod pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change, your change.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In great times or tough times, you always feel better working with someone who's there for you. When it comes to great banking, people here count on the First National Bank of Central Texas, here to help you, your family, and your business. Personal banking via phone, desktop, tablet, and drive-through, and business banking tailored for all situations, including yours. Amazing tomorrows from the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John Machota of The Athletic. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus. And best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects. With 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Prescott to the end zone. Touchdown. It's another one for Amari Cooper.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go. This 5 o'clock hour. In the next segment, Ross Dellinger is going to join us from SI.com on the college football landscape and even Stanford's story and the Ivy League story today. We're not joined by John Machota. The Athletic.com covers the Cowboys. And I guess all of a sudden, here you are. Monday, you're working on this stadium story that you released this week. And this Patrick Mahomes character, he kind of flares everything up for everybody. So what was your reaction when you heard the Mahomes contract and anything Dak?
Well, yeah, no, immediately I thought about Dak, but it just kind of was, I can't wait to see what these numbers are, because there was just a lot of uncertainty at first. I think Adam Schefter broke it by just saying it was going to be a 10-year deal, but didn't have the numbers. And I was like, well, 10-year deal already takes it to a spot where I don't see any way it would get between the Cowboys and Dak Prescott. But whatever the average is and things like that, that'll have an impact. And so, you see it, I think it averages around $45 million, depending on, if he meets all those incentives and whatnot. But $45 million per year, I mean, that certainly raises the high bar when Russell Wilson was a guy at $35 million per year. And so I think what it ultimately I took away from seeing those numbers is that while Dak's not going to get Patrick Mahomes money, at least now it seems like we have a basement and a ceiling. And the basement is that Carson Wentz, kind of Jared Goff area there in like the, I guess Goff's around $33.5 million per year. So that's the basement. Dak's not getting any less than that if he gets a contract extension from the Cowboys. And then the ceiling is 45, but he's not getting in that neighborhood either. He hasn't been to a Super Bowl. He hasn't won a Super Bowl. He hasn't had the career that Mahomes had up to this point. No one thinks he's going to get that. But what it could do is it could get Dak around maybe 37, 38 million per year, where, I mean, that's still some great money. And if he was to get a deal like that, then it certainly would make it seem like he did the smart thing by holding out and not taking a lesser deal. So it has an impact on Dak to a certain extent, but it's not apples to apples for sure, because Dak wants a 4-year deal. He doesn't want anything close to a 10-year deal. So there are going to be differences, but my biggest takeaway was that, hey, I guess business can be done at this time, because I was kind of thinking, COVID-19 teams are going to kind of stay away from doing big deals right now, but the Chiefs showed that you could do it. So, hey, everyone's looking at you, Cowboys. You're up.
All right, let's go in the time machine and look ahead to next week. Wednesday, when we may not be able to do this segment if this story comes down because you'll be working on it, but are the Cowboys announcing that the Dak deal is done?
I still don't think it's likely. I mean, I think the highest I ever got on it this offseason was 50-50. And then probably about a week ago, it dropped down to maybe 10 to 15%. Now I'm back up to about maybe 20, 25%, but I just don't think it's likely. I think that there's still going to be too much that they disagree on. And if we are talking about it next Wednesday, I do believe it will be a 4-year deal, and it'll be one of those things where the Cowboys caved in and they want 5, or they probably would even like even longer than that. But I think that if he does have one done on Wednesday, it'll be that a 4-year deal. And I think it'll be in that neighborhood of, like I said, $37, $38 million a year.
John, when Dak does sign whatever he does end up signing, whenever that does happen, will that be the best day in your professional life?
Oh, what's actually funny about that is, like, I just want to get past Wednesday.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I get past Wednesday, then he's under the franchise tag, and there's no need in talking about this until the season's over, because they can't do anything after that date until after the regular season is over, I should say. So I just want to get past Wednesday. I actually got some vacation days coming up, so that'll be a big relief there. But yeah, obviously it'd be easier if they have him signed, because if that's the case, then if they get a deal done with him, then it's like I said, it'll probably be a 4-year deal. That really locks in that window for the next 4 years. 4 years, that should be more than enough to see what you have in Mike McCarthy. Zeke should be around for 4 years. Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, DeMarcus Lawrence, Jalen Smith, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb. I mean, Leighton Vander Esch. The nucleus is there. So it would seem that, hey, you got yourself set up where, hey, for the next 4 years, you should be able to make the playoffs and potentially make a Super Bowl run. And so it would make things a little bit easier to deal with. But as long as we can get past Wednesday, I'll be pretty happy.
John, when all that did come out and you said, let's look at the numbers, do you think either side, Dallas with Jerry, Steven, et cetera, and then Dak with his group, did either one of them go, oh, damn? Or did both of them go, okay, well, that's where it is and we'll work with it? Did either one of them have, get, that feeling when you have, what is it, when your throat, you get that digestion, you start having heartburn? Did either one of them have heartburn when that came out?
Probably not, because I think the number in terms of average per year, I think was right about what people would think if you thought it was going to be a 10-year deal. But I think the 10 years is the part that both sides are probably like, wow. The 10 years actually, I believe, helped the Cowboys a little bit, because, like I said, they wanted to do 5 years. They'd rather a longer deal with Dak. Dak wants a shorter term, 4 years, so that he can get back out to the market quicker and make even more money when the new TV deals kick in and things like that. So I think the 10 years, I don't believe that anybody, when they heard 10 years, wasn't a little bit surprised. You just don't see many contracts like that in other sports. Okay, maybe you could see that in a baseball contract, but for football, that's not very common. Now, the quarterback position is certainly one that it's been shown you can play, well into your late 30s at a pretty high level, and even into your 40s if you're really special. And Patrick Mahomes is really special, and so it's kind of crazy, because when I look at those numbers and everything, I'm, even my mom, she doesn't really follow it real close, but she's even saying to me, she's like, can you believe how much money that guy got? I'm like, yeah, because he kind of deserves it. I mean, if there's one player in the league that deserves a 10-year deal at $45 million a year, it's probably Patrick Mahomes. So, like I said, I don't think anybody needs to be confused. I'm not putting Dak in the same category as Patrick Mahomes, but because that there's a new ceiling, that impacts Dak's contract. It's going to make Dak more money for sure.
Yeah, but no one is going to, like, Dak's not, I mean, you say Dak doesn't want a 10-year deal. Almost no one else does either. Like, this is such a weird thing that he's really going to be probably the only one, right?
You know, it probably. I don't see many other, because like I said, I think the quarterback position, not even, yeah. You know, I'll say this. I think also, you know, like the Tyron Smith deal is a 10-year deal. So I think left tackle, quarterback, there's a few positions, but I don't think that it's very likely because I think you have to take a team-friendly deal. I will say, though, from a Dak Prescott standpoint, signing on for 10 years with the Dallas Cowboys, if the numbers are right, sounds like a great deal because this is a guy who obviously he's been very successful off the field in terms of endorsements. And those aren't going anywhere. I mean, those are presented to you when you're the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, as long as you're winning games. So it's like, you know, locking in for 10 years with the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know if that's really that bad of a thing, especially for a guy that grew up being a Cowboys fan and just the exposure that team always gets. And he doesn't seem to be bothered by the fact that it's just they're always talked about on TV. His contract, like that's the thing. Like Patrick Mahomes signed this huge deal, biggest deal in NFL history, biggest deal in sports history. Well, as soon as Dak signs his contract, it'll be an even bigger deal because he's the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. You know, everybody will be talking about that. And it won't even be anywhere near the same price that they paid for Patrick Mahomes, but it's the Cowboys quarterback, and it's been something that's been talked about this entire offseason. And so whether he signs it or not on Wednesday, Dak Prescott's going to be the biggest story in the NFL.
Now, what was your take on Dontari Poe and what he said about Jerry?
Yeah, I found that interesting because now we have Dontari Poe and Gerald McCoy both saying that they'd like to hear something from Jerry Jones, and both those guys are obviously new players on the team, you know, and you don't really hear much stuff like that from Cowboys players in the past. I mean, Cowboys were known, especially when you talk about, you know, Colin Kaepernick and kneeling during the anthem and that. The Cowboys were known as one of the teams that never had a player kneel during the anthem or do any type of a silent protest, and that Jerry was adamant that none of the players do that. And so it's very rare that you hear a player on the Cowboys talk, you know, about Jerry Jones in that way, like advising him, like, hey, it's probably better if you say something. And again, like we haven't heard anything from Jerry Jones, which is surprising to me because he always talks about just about everything. And so it doesn't make any sense for him to be quiet now on this topic because Jerry Jones has shown us over, you know, decades that there really isn't a topic that he can't talk about. You know, he's pretty open to everything. And so every day that goes by that he hasn't talked about any of this, it is an interesting thing. And it doesn't surprise me that players are speaking out. But it is interesting right now that it's the two players that are both guys that are new to the team that were just signed, you know, in free agency. And hey, if this team gets to where they think it can go, both those players are going to have be a big part of it.
One thing I have to ask you, we asked about when Patrick Mahomes' deal, and all of a sudden the first thing you think about is Dak. Imagine waking up and you cover Philadelphia with Deshaun Jackson. The Cowboys, for the most part, players have been somewhat – there's been some that have asked about where's Jerry and said some things, but imagine if you woke up to that yesterday morning.
Yeah, no, that was interesting. I can't say that that's not something that I would have planned on seeing, or I mean, just a player posting something like that. That really stunned me. I don't know how you go about, I know he met with people in the team and stuff like that. I mean, you can apologize and stuff like that, but it's just like, I don't know how you go about erasing that out of people's minds when you post something like that. So, I'm very hesitant to sit there and say oh yeah, that would, I'm thankful that the Cowboys don't have anything like that, because as soon as you say that, the Cowboys are going to have something like that. So I don't want to speak too soon on that, but it was wild. I just, I had to read that over 2-3 times just to make any sense of that. I don't know why he thought it was a good idea to post that, but yeah, that's not something. Yeah, waking up to that, I can tell you this right now. I'd much rather write about the Dak Prescott contract than that type of thing.
Thank you very much. And John, by the way, wrote an article about NFL stadiums, The Athletic. They had a big ballot, and we'll get into that maybe next week, and you can go to athletic.com and read that. The worst stadium in the NFL, FedEx Field, for many reasons, parking, access. It's a beautiful.
John should have talked to Brad Sham about that a little bit.
Media,
Brad's got many ideas.
And then, of course, the number one stadium in America, based by the writers, was U.S. Bank Stadium, Minnesota. Number 2, Seattle. 3, AT&T Stadium with the Cowboys. 4, Lambeau Field. And Arrowhead Stadium, a couple of old school stadiums.
I liked U.S. Bank Stadium.
No, I did too.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I ever went into that one because that was the year that I didn't go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
That's right. When we come back, Ross Dellinger, SI.com on the college athletics landscape. Next on SicEm365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler, Jeep Ram, Fiat. Right now, they continue to have discounts, availabilities on their various vehicles, including, of course, they have the Ram truck. And when you start with that, man, you can end it right there. The annual summer clearance event continues. 2020 Ram Lone Star Crew Cab, 0% financing for 72 months, no payments, 90 days for 90 days, or you can choose even $10,250 in total values. Remaining 2020 Jeep Gladiators get employee pricing, plus an additional $1,500 in bonus cash. Many Jeep models have 0% financing for 72 months and no payments for 90 days. And if you're a business owner, farmer, and rancher out there, they will find what you need from standard cab to chassis cab, heavy duty, and ProMaster trucks because they have multiple locations. Alan Samuels has multiple locations and partnerships all over the United States to find what you're looking for. You can shop in person in safe, sanitized environment. Staff 100% on board in giving you a safe experience. And if you want to just shop online and contact them online, you can at AlanSamuelsDCJ.com. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler, Jeep Ram, Fiat. Ask for Ted Teague, AJ, among the other great on staff on Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco. One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
What are you supposed to do when you pull up behind a truck that doesn't even have a hitch? I mean, it's like looking at plumber's crack. Do you cover your kids' eyes, look away, and switch radio stations? Hi, Jay here from Pickup Outfitters asking for your help to end this embarrassing form of truck nudity. If you have a truck, at some point you need to pull something. It could be a trailer to haul stuff off to the dump, maybe a jet ski, a boat, an RV, a horse trailer, even just a bike rack. The point is, put a hitch on your truck's backside. And at Pickup Outfitters, we actually install more hitches than anything else. Whether it's a receiver hitch, a gooseneck, or a fifth wheel, we'll cover your aspirations to not drive a nude truck. And all hitches are covered by the Pickup Outfitters Lifetime Installation Guarantee. So cover your rear end with a new hitch from Pickup Outfitters on Lake Erie Drive in Waco, where we're fighting to end truck nudity in Central Texas. Check them out on our website at createacommotion.com/hitches.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. And order 30-pound bags of live crawfish by noon on Thursday and pick up on Friday to enjoy the weekend. Live crawfish available right now. And
Waco Custom Marketplace doors are open for business Monday through Friday from 9 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5. And crawfish boil boxes available as well. Make your order for live crawfish by noon on Thursday, pick up on Friday for the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh kolaches, cinnamon rolls, and baked bread daily. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, and house-cured and smoked bacon. Spices, seasonings, soup mixes, charcoal, and lighter fluid. Waco Custom Marketplace, doors open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5, 425 Lake Air Drive or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, here we go. This 5 o'clock hour, 5:21. Ross Dellinger does a great job in covering college athletics, SI.com. He joins us on SicEm365 Radio. Craig Paul, and I'm David Smoke. Ross, what a day, huh? The Ivy League, which I think was expected, that happens, among many other things, including Stanford. Interesting times. And so your thoughts about the Ivy League and what impact that might have, if at all?
Yeah, it's one of those days in college sports. We've seen a lot of them now over the last few weeks, and the Ivy League became the first Division I conference to make the move, and I'm not sure it'll be the last. I'm not certain that other Power 5, Group 5 programs will do the same because of the Ivy League. I think they'll make the move, the move similar to the Ivy League because of reasons why the Ivy League did it. And that's because of virus cases spiking across the nation. School administrators are fearing that they can't win this battle with the virus as it is spiking across the country. And it's a very real issue. And I'm not sure, like I said, I don't know really how much influence that the Ivy League's decision has on them, but more so it's the reason the Ivy League made the move, and that's because of the spikes we're seeing across the nation and the issues that could cause with testing and issues with other matters. So certainly some doubt creeping in, to college athletic leaders' mind about an on-time start.
Do you think that this is maybe a roadmap for the other leagues if they decide to do it, which will be the absolute last resort at the absolute last minute that they would have to make that decision?
Well, I'll have more on this at SI.com tomorrow, but it'll be the first week of August. I think that's been kind of locked down as a deadline date of sorts. It seems late, but they're going to push it as late as they can, honestly. And that's one big difference between the Ivy Leagues and the FBS level, is that significant money is involved on the higher level. And so they're going to push as far as they can, as deep as they can. We back in May, I think the deadline was more like late June, and then it became mid-July and late July, and now it's being pushed to the around August 1. There's that first week of August.
Ross, Olympic sports obviously getting butchered pretty good, and a lot of the cuts that have been going on. I know you've written about this, and you wrote about it last month, but just what's kind of the overall feel on Olympic sports and college athletics and its future?
Well, it's not good. It's unfortunate what we've seen happening. I think everybody kind of saw it coming. So yeah, about a month ago, we wrote a deep dive on what was around the corner for Olympic sports, and why that was why that could be an issue for a number of reasons. Right now I think we're at 56 Olympic or non-revenue, whatever you want to call them, sports cut overall at the Division I level, which is the most since 2006. And I would think we're going to surpass 2006. 06's count was 66. And so we're only just 10 or so off of that. And I believe we'll end up surpassing that. But this has a domino effect for sure. You know, it has a ripple effect all the way up and all the way down to high school level, youth league, all the way up to the Olympics. You know, when you start removing sports, I mean, I'll give you a good example. 15 tennis teams have been eliminated at Division I level so far. And again, it's not the end. So could we have 30, 40 Division I tennis teams eliminated over the next year or two? Maybe. And that certainly is going to have an effect on, youth tennis, and will have an effect on the professional ranks as far as American tennis in the Olympics as well.
You know, you mentioned the various sports, all these sports. How much does it come into play with Title IX of eliminating these sports? And I think it's been like maybe a 60-40% breakdown. I could be wrong. Men's sports to women's sports. How much do ADs have to know that if they start slashing women's sports more than men's sports, there would be a massive amount of backlash?
It's a huge, huge piece of it. ADs like to talk about it on record, but believe me, it is significant when they start looking at cutting these sports. You know, right now, of the 56 sports that have been cut, 33 men, 22 women, and one was a co-ed team. So you can see there, you know, how Title IX, 11 more men's teams have been cut. And on research that we did since 1990, so the last 30 years, of the top 10 sports that have shrunk the most, 8 of them are men. And there's a reason behind that, and it is Title IX for all the good that Title IX has done for women's sports and for American women's sports, because it has done a lot. It has hurt men's sports. You know, you have to keep you have to keep it even or as close as you can, or you will risk, ADs will risk being sued, and their schools being sued over Title IX lawsuits. So you have to keep it as even as possible. And, obviously years ago, colleges had more men's sports, way more. And they're in the process of still balancing it out. When you have to start cutting in order to keep it balanced, you see a lot more men's sports slashed.
But does it make everybody else more, like, I would think that there's a lot of athletic directors that are probably more panicked that it was Stanford, who's always prided themselves on that they have every possible sport you could think of.
Yeah, that was disappointing seeing that come across the screen earlier today, that news that Stanford will cut 11 sports. I mean, I think they have the second most sports in Division I. So I guess you can't be too surprised, but for so long, Stanford was the gold standard of a full, broad-based athletic department. They had all of these sports and all of these great athletes and various different activities, and they won the cup. I forgot what it's called now, but the cup by several years in a row. I mean, it's going back like 10 plus years for their total athletic accomplishments. So it's shocking to see that, and it just tells you what kind of situation we're in right now financially in college football and in college sports.
Ross, I was just reading over some of your tweets and stuff. I mean, you got all the bases covered, and you mentioned in a couple of them the talk about spring football season. I mean, just how much of a headache do you think that would be, trying to balance not only the return of football but simultaneously doing those spring sports? And I realize if that's the only way to do it, that's what you kind of have to do. But just how much of a nightmare scenario do you think that could turn into?
Well, it certainly has a lot of issues. Right now I think there's 3 avenues. Contingency plans, and one of them is just to delay the season. Another one is to delay it and maybe play an abbreviated season, and then another one is just move it to the spring. I don't think you're going to see a decision abruptly made to move it to the spring. It's going to be a process where you would announce a delay maybe, and announce maybe even another delay. They try to push it to try to get a fall season in because they want to avoid a spring season. And it comes with obviously a lot of issues, The NFL, certainly players who are eligible for the NFL draft, a lot of them might not even play in the spring. Then you have conflicts with other spring sports. You have an incredibly, insanely busy spring on a campus. And then, of course, there would be implications for the next season. You're shortening the off season by 4 or 5 months. So it's kind of endless. You go on and on about all the issues in spring. Each contingency plan certainly has its problems, but spring probably presents the most.
Ross, I know you got to go. We appreciate it. I know you did a story on the name, image, likeness, and what we saw last week. We had Deion Kohler from University of Baltimore on the show the day I'd never heard of her, and most people hadn't. Then all of a sudden, she becomes kind of a rock star of those hearings. What were your overall thoughts? Is this just talk, or are they going to actually ever get anything done?
Well, I think they are going to get something done. I think the signs are pointing that they are going to create a federal NIL bill to bring uniformity to this issue across the nation. And that's what the NCAA wants. That's what others want. So that to avoid all these different state laws that govern NIL. So I think we're going to see it. We might even see it this year. The chairman of a very important Senate committee that must approve an NIL bill told me he would expect post-election for it to potentially move through his committee. So I think it's on the way.
Thank you, Ross. Appreciate you, buddy. Appreciate your time.
All right, y'all.
Ross Dellinger, with the SI.com. He covers college sports very, very well. His latest article was about the Senate hearings or the committee meeting about NIL.
Look, don't get me wrong. I'm all for football whenever we can get it. Hopefully it's in the fall, even if it's only conference games, whatever the case may be. But, I said, I think last week and maybe even 2 weeks ago, whenever the subject of spring football got brought up, of just the chaos that would cause and how hard that would be to manage. But my main thing was not even, taking into account the mix of other spring sports on campus and how you navigate through that. But, yeah, that quick turnaround. Like, how do you do that? How would you have a season, summer break, and then a season? And I've seen a lot of former football players have come out and said, like, no way, dude. Like, there's no way you can do that. So, yeah, that's really interesting. And, hopefully that's not what it comes to. But everybody's got to be aware of just the options on the table and be prepared for having to pull the trigger on any of those options. And, if spring football ends up being one, I think he's absolutely right. There's going to be some guys that say, nuh-uh, I'm going to the draft. And there's going to be some guys that, are ready and gung-ho and willing to play. But 3 months later, turning right around and playing another 12 is, I'm sure there would be some longer break. But, how much can you keep shifting the schedule, pushing it back, and eventually you just eliminate things. But, it's just throwing the whole thing into such chaos as far as scheduling-wise.
Yeah, you essentially wouldn't have any seniors, I would think.
Yeah,
you wouldn't have any seniors, and you wouldn't have the better part of your upperclassmen juniors. Because professional sports are going to play. I think that's going to happen. But they're employees.
Right.
And the NCAA has gone through painstaking lengths to say that their people aren't. So if they're not, then that's the wall that they're probably going to hit. And so, if they have to go to the spring, I still think they're going to play in the fall. And they might be the only people on campuses all across the country in the fall are football players and, volleyball players, and that they're going to do their thing and move on, and that'll be it. So,
yeah, it's again, here we are worrying about something we can't control.
No,
right?
I'm not worrying about it. I'm thinking about it. I think it's interesting to look at all the different scenarios. I'm not worried. There's nothing I can do about it. So I have no point in worrying about it. But, just the idea of a spring schedule and what that would look like and what that would entail, I'm just trying to kind of work it through in my brain.
Your point is that, you play a season in the spring and then within
3 months.
You come back and the wear and tear, how I was talking to a college coach, I guess, was it yesterday or the day before, about how do you juggle your roster and your
right.
Remember when basketball season started shutting down in early March? And oh my God, these poor players should get another year of eligibility.
Even though they played all the way up until the tournament.
Even though some conferences had already played their tournaments, even though there were only a handful of tournaments left, although there was enough to enjoy that next weekend. But everybody, for the most part, unless they had been injured or just weren't playing, had played 30-plus games. And it was like it's like you walk in the store and you lose a $20 bill, so we give you $100.
Everybody played their full regular season.
Yes.
Their
and
full
so
regular
it's not
season.
like they were just not like baseball and softball that had sniffed a game or two. It's like everybody wants to just give things away for free. I get it. Lauren Cox was not coming back.
Yeah, but what are you saying?
My point is that everyone kept saying that these athletes, I say everyone, a lot of people wanted athletes to get an extra year, and some are because of the spring sports. Coaches were like, whoa, wait a minute.
That was hard to juggle. So you can imagine juggling 5 baseball scholarships, and I know there's partials and all that.
85.
Compared to 85 scholarships with another 25 arriving.
And the other thing is you asked a lot of the seniors who are leaving, would you want to get your year back? They're like, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, I'm ready to go.
Almost all the Baylor folks that we talked to, Lauren Cox and Freddie Gillespie,
were like, no, I was ready to go.
Yeah.
You know, and part of that is just
they said it is what it is.
Yeah. They're also like, people are saying, well, you know, they're not just going to come back and play basketball. They got to go to school. Well, you get to a point in your life where you want to take a little break from school. And no matter how great a student you are, like Lauren and Freddie were, like, hey, you just earned your way out.
Is going
like, you don't have to go and take a class.
Is going to class is it worth coming back to just play sports if you also have to go do all the academic side of it as well?
Yeah, and look, Lauren Cox.
When you've already got a couple degrees.
Lauren Cox is a professional athlete now.
Yeah.
Freddie Gillespie is gonna investigate that avenue, but he also needs to investigate his other professional life and not put that on hold for another year. So yeah, I mean, there's plenty of guys around like that. I mean, and athletes. So yeah, that was just kind of a silly thing. Now this happened in January, then maybe we can talk.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
Before the conference season. But.
I'm not, like I said, I am not nervous. Like I said to somebody in text message, I'm not scared about catching the virus, to be very clear. I'm doing all my precautionary things. Like, if I were to get it, I get it, okay? I will know that I would have done everything in my power, pretty much, to not get it. But if I get it, so be it. But that's not even my concern. My concern is, the spread and all that, as we've talked about, and other people getting it, and then we continue to have these shutdown after shutdown after shutdown. But I'm really curious of what that would look like. And, I think that they have a lot of questions right now. I feel like there would be that many more questions if you were to stunt it or not stunt it, but to delay it until spring. And like Mac Rhodes said to us yesterday, they were trying to get, uniform across the various possibilities they may have. And he said something along the lines of, well, do you think like Big Ten schools are going to want to start spring ball in January to get ready for this spring season? Because it wouldn't even be spring ball. It would be fall camp pretty much in January. And I know they got indoors and whatnot, but still, so, yeah, it's crazy.
There's an interesting video, and I saw this from multiple people, but Philip Blanks, a former wide receiver at Saddleback College in Mission Viejo, California. There was a Phoenix apartment complex on fire on the top floor, like 3 or 4 stories. And he was down below. He is, I believe, he was in the Marines, serving in 12 different countries. There's video of this. It's like maybe 2 or 3 stories where a woman who, in this massive fire, there's 2 men down there, and Philip Blanks is one of them, and she tosses her child out the balcony. And she saw them, and, obviously, depending on the weight, who knows, it could be thrown poorly.
I think it would have been ruled incomplete, honestly. Part of the baby touched the ground.
I think there was, the nose of the ball. But he actually stops the blow of the baby hitting flat straight on the ground. He caught it and kind of turned, and there was but the baby seemed to be fine. It was just an amazing video. In this day and age of so much, it's nice. In fact, I saw This is on Outkick. This was Clay Travis, but I also saw Clarence Hill mention it and somebody else, so that was cool. Talk about oil and water.
Yeah, no kidding.
With those two.
Jeez.
All right, so that's good with Philip Blanks.
I will say, that does remind me of the story in Philadelphia where that had something similar happen. There was an apartment fire, and some guys were out there catching children from, 2, 3,
That's
however many
unbelievable.
stories up. And the funniest rescue operation post-interview ever when the guy decided, who was one of those catching the babies, to say, unlike Aguilar, and take a shot at Nelson Aguilar for all the drops that he has, was pretty hilarious. And that started to creep back up now as a result, but that was a great interview.
Just a little note from Lee Steinberg, who we've been in contact with them about the signing of Patrick Mahomes. NFL in general, the worst way for a player to facilitate a trade is to go public with his demand. Other teams know players unhappy. Low ball in trade offers puts current team up against the wall.
One thing that got glossed over with Patrick, I feel like as well, at least for the crowd that wanted to point out that it wasn't the richest contract, or wanted to point out that somebody else will eventually top it, or wanted to point out, like, not even necessarily negative, but some sort of detraction to why it isn't the greatest deal ever. The thing that they missed out on, and maybe it's just like the selfish me mentality. I don't know. I don't want to speak for these people I don't even know, but, there's some people who have the mindset of, I want the biggest contract and I want the most money I can possibly make. Patrick Mahomes is going to make $500 million, and he's also not even making as much as he possibly could because he wants the team around him to be good as well. And so he could have gotten even more, but he didn't to make sure that they could still afford to sign all the players around him.
Well, hey, Tom Brady did the same thing for years and years, and the minute the Patriots dipped off on that,
Yep.
he decided,
he said,
and they
okay.
both, look, Brady didn't even get an offer from the Patriots. They both decided to move on from each other. So there you have it. So Patrick Mahomes, so how do you win Super Bowls, especially when you get one young? Like Brady got one young, Mahomes has got one young. When you've got that shot into your
He's got
veins
one in
at a
the
young
bank,
age,
yeah.
what you want from now on is, I've got to do that again.
Yeah.
Because there does come a point in your career where maybe if you haven't won one and you haven't made that money, it's probably just long-term smarter, like go cash your check and see what happens.
That's why Aikman, who signed the big deal, which I don't remember what it was, like 5 years, $50 million, whatever it was in the early 90s, kept restructuring his over, and eventually that came back to haunt him in the late 90s.
Oh, yeah, they did that with Romo and stuff too, didn't they? Kept shifting the salary cap and all that.
Yeah, Steinberg brought that up because Raheem Mostert from the 49ers has demanded or requested a trade. He's the 23rd highest paid running back in the NFL. I'm not a fan. Hold on. He didn't even start the full season, did he?
No.
He was really good. But here's a guy that played about what I think is maybe 60% as a starter of the year, and here he is wanting money.
I get it. I mean, try to cash in when you
money,
can,
yeah.
but honestly, if you the 49ers, from their perspective, they've got a lot of money already wrapped up in some other running backs, one of whom hasn't played in 2 years on the roster.
McKinnon.
Yeah, Jerick McKinnon.
Well,
but they've got Tevin Coleman. They've got him. Yeah, go ahead, request a trade. See how that works out for you. How many running backs really get dealt?
Here's one thing about Mostert's contract is that he was being paid as a special teams player. So he wanted to have it updated to where, I guess apparently he wanted to be paid more like a running back and not a special teams guy. And so that's the angle he's coming from. So that at least provides a little bit more, and it's a little bit more understandable. But yeah, San Francisco seems like a team would be like, all right, see ya. We'll go find another guy.
Here's a funny part. Andy Herman NFL, and the Packers were so smart to play the long game against the 49ers, letting Raheem Mostert rush all over them in the NFC Championship game just to cause discord and chaos for future 49ers teams. Is galaxy brain thinking by the Packers brass.
Well,
I love that.
For him, he needs to strike while the iron's hot, and who knows how the rest of his career is going to play out. But for San Francisco, he's also a running back, so you don't really feel like when you've got a couple of other guys already that you really need to make a huge investment in him in particular.
When we come back, wrapping it up, 544, SicEm365 Radio. Pictures in front of me. I've printed them out. Brian Etheridge, who's a part of the management ownership and a partner with SicEm365 with Ashley Hodge and Colt Barber and company, put out on Twitter over the weekend 4 pictures. 2 of them were singular, just as marble perfect as you could be ribeye steaks. And then 2 pictures below them that are 3 of the most beautiful ribeyes you could imagine with the marble being perfect. He cooked them over the weekend. Taylor Bryan, Sports Information, Athletic Communications, Baylor Football, has a brand new grill. Put out a picture of a bone-in ribeye and a couple of big, thick fillets that he got at Waco Custom Marketplace. And then there's been others. It could be you. It should be you. And if you don't know about how delicious and how amazing the steaks are and what they can do with their butcher shop at Waco Custom Marketplace, Lake Air Drive in Waco, you're missing out, period. Plain and simple. They have a bakery with fresh baked bread every day and kolaches and pies and cookies and whatever else. If you want to just get a cup of coffee and visit, you can do that too. Plus, they have a huge refrigerator area with beer, cold beer, and everything you could imagine when it comes to soft drinks or even milk or butter. I think maybe some eggs. In the back, there's some vegetables right out of the, basically right out of the dirt. Big, huge carrots, among other things, including a bag, if you want, of Brussels sprouts to put on the grill if that's what you want to have. That's just an asparagus. And up and down the aisles, there's all sorts of canned foods, from tomatoes to corn to seasonings and sauces and much more. And you can also, by tomorrow at noon, order a 30-pound bag of live crawfish, and they'll have it for you for the weekend, the next day, or on Saturday. It's an amazing place, and the pictures make you just drool with the food, the butcher shop, the meat market, and the bakery at Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Summertime means vacation time, and when you hit the road, do it in the vehicle of summer, Jeep. At Allen Samuels, it's our huge summer clearance event. It's on. Get employee pricing on brand new 2020 Jeep Gladiator Sport Editions, plus an additional $1,500 in retail bonus cash. And ask about 0% and no payments for 90 days on other Jeep models. It's time to say goodbye. Adios, 2020s from Allen Samuels.
Ask for details. All offers with approved credit.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day, payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The SicEm365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
All right. So we mentioned a couple of the stories to start the show to kind of also wrap it up. You have something?
I just realized something with Raheem Mostert. JaMychal Hasty's on the 49ers roster.
Ah, part of that depth chart. Very good, Craig. I couldn't tell you the depth chart of my favorite team.
The Washington football team.
The Washington Red Tails. There was a story about there's not going to be any kind of, at least a report that there was no type of any connection at all to Native Americans in their name or on their logo or anything, which you would think if they're going to change the name, which they're going to change the name, then I would think they'd want to get away from that completely.
Yeah, and I saw something too, because now people are really hammering on Daniel Snyder and why they just won't make a decision and get on with it. And my one thought on that was, I'm sure Nike has plenty of time on their hands right now, so they could put together some burgundy and gold uniforms and just maybe put like a W on the helmet or something. I don't know, until they can have some time to redesign, especially if you're doing a whole new team name and potentially a color scheme. I don't know if they would change that as well, but Daniel Snyder, apparently when he first took over ownership, was making some donations to Native American tribes, and somebody got hold of the records, and those donations started going down and then down and then down to now we're the point where apparently I guess they have you like in an order of good standing or not, and they're no longer even in good standing as far as the contributions go. So that's obviously something that had he been proactive and kept, doling out the contributions and they'd remained steady or what have you, then maybe you could argue that, yeah, he's coming from the right place, but the fact that it's like, oh, nobody's looking now, let's give a little bit less and then a little bit less. And, it kind of defeats any sort of an argument that he might have as far as the support goes. So, yeah, that's regardless of that part of the story, that was, it's a long time coming. It's been talked about for my entire life practically.
Yeah, but part of this is that, Daniel Snyder could have been ahead of this a long time ago.
Long ago.
But as the James Dolan of the NFL, that's what I can't imagine a worse owner in the NFL, because and the reason I say that there might be owners that aren't as business savvy or whatever as he is. Same with James Dolan in the NBA. But you are sitting on a gold mine of a fan base that is the Redskins fan base is nationwide. They have a nationwide fan base. People all over the country. They're one of those teams, and there's 5 to 6 of them in the NFL that have true nationwide fan bases. Cowboys, Redskins, Packers, Steelers, Raiders. Like that's who has the nationwide fan base. Everyone else is kind of, more regionalized. But you have that and you keep screwing it up. You keep same with
Well, we just mentioned the stadium list that John Machota and the Athletic put together, the worst stadium. It's brand new. It's not only it's like 20 years old.
I mean, how you have not changed FedEx Field since the RG3 injury.
The turf.
Even the turf is still an issue 10 plus years later or whatever it's been now at this point.
And, I remember saying at the time, did you watch this kid win the Heisman Trophy playing most of his games, save for maybe 7 in his whole career on turf, and watch how fast he is running on that?
Yeah.
At least because then you'd have at least half of his games, more than that. So if you've got home turf, that means he's probably playing 13 games a year on turf, which is what he's built for.
Yeah. Yeah,
and your weather's not as, you have to worry about your weather, which in that region of the country, especially in the winter, is all over the map. Come on.
Yeah, their field's a mess.
I'll tell you this right now. I love the fact that I've been a Washington Redskins fan since I was like 5 years old, back in the mid-'60s. And I hate that they're going to change the name. I understand that they're going to. That's another story. But at the same time, it's how bad they are right now that they don't do anything right, and now they're going to lose their name. And that's just like, okay, all right. You wonder if they'd won a couple of Super Bowls in the last 10 years, would they be able to kick this can down the road a little bit longer? I don't know, because we're in that and I said this to you guys. All right, go after the Redskins. Who's next? Here we go, the Indians.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but after that, there's nobody. And I know that somebody will probably come up with some idea of something else to cancel, and cancel culture is ridiculous. But, I mean, it's really the Redskins and the Indians that we're talking about. The Indians have already made it clear that they're pursuing the idea of changing the name and all of that. They had already gotten rid of, Chief Wahoo a few years ago as well. So that was kind of already sort of coming to a head in maybe some ways. But, yeah, this certainly just pushed it over the edge. And, I mean, and for the Redskins in particular, I mean, I think if you're looking at the two names and going, which one's more offensive, there's one that's very clearly the most offensive, and it's them. And so, as much as people may not look at it and have certain feelings, there are people that do. And, there's a reason why even far before Twitter even existed or social media in any way, shape, or form, or even the internet, people were still calling for the Redskins name to change. So, yeah.
Speaking of cancel culture, I'm not gonna read this whole thing because I can't. But Quentin Jammer, former Texas defensive back, plays with Denver, I think now. Hell of a player. I'm sick of this cancel culture BS. How the blank do we grow up as a society if all you want to do is cancel blank? Keep canceling blank until we don't have blank to cancel. Grow the blank up.
Quentin Jammer.
He's one of my heroes now.
He played last with Denver, but he's 41 years old. He's gone for a while. I was like, you say he plays with Denver. I was like, they're going deep into the well.
Well, you know what? His Wikipedia page says current team Denver, but you're right. He played a long time ago. Yeah. He's now a coach somewhere, I believe.
He was part of those early Mac Brown versus Bob Stoops Red River shootouts when it was still not too politically incorrect to say that as well. That was another name that had to change, was shootout, because the thought was that that's going to entice kids to go shoot people. I don't know.
See, that's when I think we go over.
Okay, yeah, like Redskins totally understand. Yeah. The shootout, that's stupid.
That's so ridiculous.
Stupid.
We're just everyone.
But he's right, though, and he was saying that in response to some of the backlash that Deshaun Jackson is deservedly getting, and Steven Jackson also needs to get a whole helping heap of it as well, because he basically said that Deshaun Jackson said nothing wrong.